Peace, family. I hope all is well. I hope your Sunday afternoon is going well. Hold on, let me check the sound. Let me make sure the sound's okay. There we go. That's cool right there. I should have done this before I went live. So please forgive me. Please forgive me. But while I make sure everything's all right, do me a favor. Hit that like button. All right, take your finger and press that like button. Or take your mouse and cursor and hover over that like button. Guys, make sure you do that for me. I appreciate it. No, we're not gonna hold on. Willie says they should have cast Serena Williams as the Woman King. I mean, hey, they should have cast Serena Williams as the Woman King. Okay. Israel, I got your email. I'm gonna check it out here shortly. I acknowledge that I received your email. Again, I acknowledge that I received your email. But guys, once again, do me a favor, hit that like button. Oh, you like this Niger t-shirt? So this is from the 2000 and let's see here. I think the World Cup was the last, not the World Cup coming up, but I think the last World Cup was what, 2019 or 2007? Hold on. It wasn't 2000, it was 2018, I think. The World Cup was 2018 or 19, the last one. And this was like the official Nike Nigeria World Cup 2018. Okay, 2018. Right. And so this was the original, like this was the official Nike get up right here. So I got the shirt and I got the pants to go with it, and I'm gonna get the jacket. So yeah, but this was the official Nigeria situation. So yeah. Peace, bro. I sent that email. I'll check my email. But guys, hit that like button. Also, make sure you share the content. Again, please share the content. Once again, share the content and subscribe. Also, hit that subscription bell. Hook mode 365 days. You know what? I was talking to a brother of mine yesterday, and he said I should do a show on that. In fact, he said I should do a show on if white South Africans are African, will they be considered African American when they come to America? So he said, reach out to a white South African, an Afrikaner or a Boer, whatever they call themselves. I forgot the term. I think it's Afrikaner. And if they were to relocate to America, move to America, would they consider themselves African American? And I said, okay, you know what? So we're gonna do that show. We're gonna do that show. Would an Afrikaner be considered African American in America? But when they do the census, they do it by race, and so it's usually white, and then there's African American / black. Usually on the census, again, it's African American / black on the census. So I don't know, but we'll I'll find an Afrikaner, invite him or her on the show. Yeah, here we go. Elon Musk. Is Elon Musk African American? Again, is Elon Musk African American? So that was a good question. That'd be a good topic, a good show. Maybe I could get Elon Musk to come on the show. Maybe I could get Elon Musk to come on the show. So we might do that. Shout out to Alexis Fowler. Alexis is going to be joining us in Sierra Leone coming up. Again, she's going to be joining us in Sierra Leone. But a couple more announcements. You need to stop this, that, Woman King. Hey, listen, David, you're more than welcome to call in and talk about why I should stop this, that, Woman King. But for real, this will probably be, I'll probably do, knowing me, I'll probably do one more Woman King video. And then after after this movie actually comes out, I'll come back on and we'll do like a review. So yeah, so that'll be interesting. But guys, make sure you visit ileamir.com. Please visit ileamir.com and grab all your gear. Everyone, grab all your gear. People are always asking, Dynas, where you get your gear from? Get it from ileamir.com. ILEAMIR. ILEAMIR. Got your Africa's My Therapy t-shirts, got the other shirts. Go and grab your shirt. Go grab your Black Love or Die Trying shirts. Your Black Love or Die Trying shirts. In fact, I need to order some shirts for myself. So, go grab your gear. Go Negro History, hit me up. Your Mende. Negro History, hit me up. Shoot me an email. I'm part Mende too. Hit me up, shoot me an email. So guys, make sure you go there, grab all your gear, and then we got a couple of tours coming up. Visit Danfo, 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 DANFO .Africa. Visit Danfo, DANFO .Africa. All right, got a couple of tours coming up. Nigeria, August 8th through the 17th. Nigeria, August 8th through the 17th. We are rolling to Nigeria for the Oshun Festival, August 8th through the 17th. Then we're going to Sierra Leone, November 20th through December 3rd. November 20th through December 3rd for the citizenship ceremony. Now, even if you're not eligible for citizenship in Sierra Leone, you're more than welcome to join us. Again, even if you're not eligible for citizenship in Sierra Leone, you are more than welcome to join us. But yeah, so we're taking another group. I'm taking another group to Sierra Leone to get their passports, get Sierra Leone passports. I know having options when it comes to passports is very important, especially during the day and time or age that we're in. So if you have roots in Sierra Leone via African ancestry, again, it has to come from African ancestry. All right, so if you're taking a DNA test and the results come back Sierra Leone via African ancestry, you are eligible for citizenship. Again, you are eligible for citizenship. So go ahead and hit me up. Go to Uhuru at searchforuhuru.com or email me at hello@danfo.africa. hello@danfo.africa. And guys, don't be afraid to super chat. And let me last announcement. I got a shout out. Hold on one second. Let me shout out a couple people who sent some money, who donated, no, not donated, who gave to the church. Again, who gave to the church via Cash App. Shout out to Leslie Jackson again. Leslie Jackson, we love you. Thank you. Shout out to Yogi Fish. Shout out to Jack Collins. Shout out to Leslie Jackson again. Gary Green, Quincy. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you again for the support. Thank you for the support. Thank you so much for the support. All right, let's jump right into it. What I'll do here in about 25 minutes, I'll open up the lines. I'll put the link in the chat room. You guys will be able, or more than welcome to call in and add to the conversation here shortly. All right, so the Woman King, Cudjo Lewis, and guys, let me say this: I am sick and tired, because this is the reality, and this is a spoiler alert. This is a spoiler alert. All right. When it comes to the Dahomey Kingdom, King Gezo, the Amazons, they were complicit and cooperated in the slave trade with Europeans. It's what it is. All right. Again, they were in full cooperation with Europeans when it comes to the slave trade. And what I'm tired of is, for some reason, when it comes to Black folks, whenever we're telling the truth and being honest, we're now being told that we're taking the white man's narrative, that we think like the white man. So now, whenever we're telling the truth and we're just being real about how things unfolded, now all of a sudden we're taking a white man's narrative. Listen, the Amazons under King Gezo, the Dahomey Empire, they were ruthless. And they were ruthless to other Black folks that look like me and you. And I'm just sick and tired whenever we share the facts in regards to the Amazons, how I'm being told that I'm taking the white man's narrative. So listen, I'm listening to this book on Audible. All right, since alleged, even though I've been to Abome, even though I go to Benin Republic, which was formerly known as the Dahomey, and get the narrative from Black folks, I'm still being told I'm taking the white man's narrative. So this book right here, Barracoon, written by a sister and the brother Cudjo Lewis, who tells his story. Again, who was one of the last. The book is called Barracoon, the story of the last Black cargo. So he was the last Black slave that was brought to the U.S. illegally. All right, to Alabama, Mobile, Alabama. Yeah, but that's it right there. Yeah, Kazula Lewis. He specifically, in giving his account, all right, he was Nigerian. He tells the story how Amazons raided his village, start slicing people up, taking people down. He even said they were as strong or stronger than men, was decapitating people. Them. Right, this is the book right here. Even though I go every year to Dahomey, to Benin Republic, even though I've been to Abome, I've been to King Gezo's palace, it's still there. He tells specifically, firsthand, right here, grab this book, how the Amazons showed up to his village one night, start slicing everybody up, kidnapped him, took him to Ouida, and sold him to white folks. Yeah, he was kidnapped by Amazons. He was kidnapped by the Amazons. Right here, grab the book. I've been to Africatown in Mobile, Alabama. I've actually been to his gravesite, to his burial site. It's right there in Africatown, the plateau in Mobile, Alabama. I've been. I've personally been. I go to Benin every year. Hold on one second. Get the focus back. I go to Benin every year. Go to Ouida every year. I've been to Abome. And and genuine diaspora, I'm gonna get into that because I understand that certain ethnic groups were at war with each other. But what does that have to do with you selling other Africans to the European? Again, what does that have to do with Africans selling Africans to the Europeans? I completely get it. Africans were at war with each other. Certain ethnic groups were at war with each other. Completely get it. I understand. But again, it was a conscious decision. It was a choice. Take the prisoners of war, indentured servants, whatever you want to call it, and take them and sell them to white folks. That's the point I'm talking about. That's the point I'm talking about. No other time in history, again, no other time in history do you see where a race of people sells their own people to a completely different race by the millions, by the boatloads, by the millions. You never see that nowhere else in history. And to the point, when it comes specifically to the homemade kingdom, even though they probably weren't benevolent, the mission of French, they had banned slavery. Again, they had banned slavery. But even after they banned slavery, the homemade kingdom continued to practice and engage in the slave trade illegally, to the point where you have a story like you do right here with Cudjo, like this. So the slave trade was banned in America. It was already banned in Africa, but a guy from Alabama, forgot his name, was able to show up to the home and purchase him and bring him back illegally. No, no, it wasn't Tubu Tip. It was Francisco de Silva. It was Francisco de Silva. It was Francisco de Silva. Because I know Tubu Tip was in Zanzibar as far as the Arab slave trade. So I would say this: the Arab slave trade, it was Tubu Tip. When it comes to the transatlantic slave trade, it was Francisco de Silva. And guess what? Francisco de Silva, him, and King Gezo of Dahomey were like this. In fact, King Gezo gave Francisco de Silva he had his own living quarters at his palace, and used the Amazons as his personal foot soldiers. Yeah, I mean, people continue just to make excuses and defend slavery. Well, they didn't know. I mean, they didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't know. It isn't like they didn't know, but they didn't care. Again, they didn't care. Queen Azinga was just as ruthless when it came to the slave trade. Queen Azinga, Madam Tinubu out of Nigeria, Queen Azinga in Angola, they were just as ruthless. They knew. I don't believe that black folks is this stupid. That we're this stupid. Like, I'm not buying that we're this dumb. Like, we didn't know what was going on. By the millions. We were, according to Chancellor Williams, they knew what was going on. This whole excuse about indentured servitude and chattel slavery. That's an excuse. They knew what was going on. These folks were just greedy. They knew better. They knew better. They just didn't care. Some tribes decided to defend themselves. They needed weapons in order to get them became part of the slave trade. I mean, look at all these resources we have. We have palm oil, iron ore, gold, diamonds, all these resources that we could have traded for weapons, but instead we decided to give them human beings and then act like we didn't know what was going to happen to them and to play stupid. Yeah, are we really this stupid? I mean, we built the pyramids, the walls of Benin. We allegedly taught the white man how to bathe. Allegedly the white man was crawling on all fours. We introduced soap to the white man. But for some odd reason, we thought it was a good trade or a good deal to give Europeans human beings by the millions in exchange for umbrellas and rusty muskets and gin. Yeah, thank you, Willie. And Willie, I rarely agree with you. The Home did human sacrifices. Why would they care about slavery? That's my point. This whole idea that they didn't know what was going to happen, what was going on. They didn't care. And mirrors. Marcus, again, you have people who are engaging in the slave trade who are practicing human sacrificing. I mean, they were practicing human sacrifice. So did they really care if it's chattel slavery or not? Yeah, and then the irony is that the same Europeans that we were selling our own brothers and sisters to ended up coming back and colonializing us. And guys, this movie, there's no happy ending. You want to know what happens to the Amazons? They get slaughtered. They get slaughtered. That's how they. Spoiler alert: the Amazons get slaughtered. They get slaughtered. It's not a happy ending to it. They get slaughtered. It's not a happy ending. It's not a happy ending at all. So everyone that's saying I'm taking a white man's narrative, I'm getting this narrative straight from Black folks, Africans on the ground, and from a guy that was actually kidnapped by one of the Amazons, because he was specific. He kept bringing up the women, the women from Dahomey. Guys, you need to get this book. He kept bringing up the women from Dahomey. They were strong as men. The women from Dahomey, they showed up to his village. They started decapitating people, killing people, murdering people. Then they took him away and sold him to the white folks. You need to listen to this. Cudjo, Barracoon. Yeah, that was one. Human sacrifices was universal in the Bible. Abraham was sacrificing his son. Abraham never existed. 99% of the characters in the Bible never existed. So I don't know what you're talking about. But the excuses you guys use to justify this is beyond me. Like, it's crazy. Nah, I'm over it. I moved on. Like, I moved on. I moved on. Like, I moved on. I've had my reconciliation. It's all good. It's all good. Like, I moved on. When it comes to slavery, I moved on. It's just when it comes to this movie, I'm trying to figure out how they're going to spin it into a story of, Black woman empowerment and Black girl magic. Because, I mean, basically what happens, the Europeans started to encroach on their land. Again, the Europeans started to encroach on their land, take over their land. Then finally, that's when they fought back and they got slaughtered. And the Dahomey was colonized. That's what happened. That's what happened. So I'm just trying to figure out how to turn this into a Black woman empowerment, Black girl magic flick, because it doesn't end good. And then from what Larry said, some of them ended up here in America pretty much doing sideshows like the Muse twins. So again, it doesn't end well. They get slaughtered. The French come in and slaughter them. It doesn't end well at all. But guys, links in the chat room. If you want to call in, go ahead and click on the link. I'm going to put the link in the chat room. Links in the chat room. If you'd like to call in, click on the link. Again, if you'd like to call in, click on the link. Links in the chat room. Yeah, so again, links in the chat room. If you want to call in, click on the link. Go ahead, brother.
Peace. Hey, how you doing today, man? Wonderful. So yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, particularly in terms of the history with Dahomey, right? We also know that not only were they slaughtered by the French, but they had a rather desultory performance whenever they went up against Europeans, right? And that there are a number of books and literature out there that speaks to the fact that they were complicit in actually what right-hand man or women with the Europeans in terms of the ruthless exploitation of Africans and sending them over to the Western world. And one is, of course, The Diligent. I don't know if people can see this, by Robert Harms. And then the other actually is a book entitled The Anthropology of Slavery, The Womb of Iron and Gold by Claude Mailesu. This book right here actually won the Melba Herkovitz Award for Best Book in African History of the year. Was published. And it goes into great detail about how the Dahomey, the sisters of Dahomey, would attack numerous African nation states and enslave their people. So it's out here. Right? All you have to do is really do some real actual reading and you would know these things, right? So the information is out there. But one of the issues I have with the film is, and I saw the trailer, but oftentimes when we talk about movies about Black history that come out of Hollywood, we know one of the issues is typically those movies portray a historically inaccurate or disingenuous aspect of what actually took place and transpired. Unfortunately, as we know, and I think you titled the show Reparations or Entertainment, many Black people, unfortunately, are ignorant of their history and rather learn their history through what they see on television rather than actually doing the reading and research for themselves. But I do want to say one thing and just kind of push back just a little bit, and that is, because, no disrespect, I'm not going to sharpshoot your platform. You know what I'm saying? You're doing your thing.
It's all good, bro. Listen, man, I'm all for balance. I'm not one of these.
Yes, sir.
Don't you come on here and challenge me. It's all good, man.
Okay. Just very quickly, if I could, according to Dr. Ali Mazrui, he was a Mombasa, Kenya-born political scientist. He was the former head of the Black Studies program at University of Michigan. And his book, The Africans, A Triple Heritage, he talks about how, unfortunately, it took Europeans coming to Africa and exploiting Africans and selling Africans and enslaving Africans and then conquering Africa to get African people to see that we were what? One group of people. He said before then, that wasn't the case. And so as a result, it would be like going to North America in the 16th century and you sold an American to somebody from Canada. Even though they both were white, they didn't see themselves as what? A member of the same race, because as we know, race was a still developing concept at the time. So that's just the one thing I want to say. However, I think oftentimes we tend to romanticize, right, the history of slavery, so on and forth, what actually took place, what actually transpired. And I always tell people, and I've mentioned this before on your show, is that whenever you have any type of oppression, you have perpetrators, collaborators, and victims. Just like during the German Holocaust, Jewish scholars say that it would have been impossible for the Nazis to actually capture Jewish people and send them to the concentration camps and so on and so forth if it wasn't for the complicity of the Judenrat Council. And the history of the brothers, the sisters, and the nation state of Dahomey is an example of what? Some African people collaborating with Europeans to what? Bring about an untimely demise in the Western world.
Right, exactly. Guys, do me a favor, hit that like button. But it's just, look, Professor Lumumba, what really bothers me, especially when people make their arguments, I guess, well, they didn't know, they didn't see themselves as the same race. It's just the amount of slaves. We're talking about millions.
Right,
And that large number is never taken place anywhere in the world. But you're more educated than me, so
I would agree. But I think I also want to state that, and one of the brothers mentioned in the chat about the human sacrifice. So if you're sacrificing live human beings, you're not going to care about someone being enslaved. Another thing is that one of the narratives that we find, not only, I don't know if it's mentioned in Barracoon, I actually have the book, but I haven't read it in full yet, but was that many Africans believe that when they were going to be sold to Europeans, that Europeans were cannibals. And so that they were going to be eaten by Europeans. So whatever the belief was, it was one that they would meet a nefarious demise. This is something that we do know. The second issue is that even though there wasn't chattel enslavement in Africa, we also know that there was an internal African slave market and trade. So we know there were two external ones, of course, the Muslim one, and then, of course, what we call the Indian slave trade, and, of course, the Atlantic slave trade. But there was an internal slave trade as well. So there was already a robust slave economy taking place, unfortunately, in West, Central, North Africa, even Southern Africa. So as a result, this is almost like what's good for the goose is good for the gander, because we were already doing this to each other.
Mm-hmm. But is there another time in history where, okay, again, I understand the argument that we didn't see each other as one, but was there another time in history where, I would say in quotation marks, the same race of people were selling each other in such a large quantity to another race of people?
Okay, so to another race of people, I can say no. I would say that I know of, I would say no. When you put the caveat into another race of people, the answer, of course, for me would have to be a no.
Because the argument is, everyone's been enslaved. Like, can you show me where Asians were selling millions of Asians to Europeans? Or, that's the part that bothers me. That doesn't make any sense. Like, we can't be this stupid. Like, I understand we didn't see each other the same race or different ethnic groups, but we were literally selling our own to white people, to Europeans by the millions, and it went on for years.
Yes,
Like
about a million. That's correct.
I've never seen that with other groups of people. So I'm just like, we can't be this dumb.
And one of the brothers, Brother Mike, he talks about many of the people that were sold were convicted criminals, and that's right. That is historically accurate. Claude Malisu, even a good friend, Claude Malisu, talks about that here in his text. But part of the issue, like we see today with the criminal justice system, was there was an incentivization of criminality. So there were situations where seemingly innocuous behaviors were now causing people to what? Be what? Convicted of a crime and then sold into chattel enslavement because of the economic benefit to do so. So that we saw an economic benefit to what criminalized people, like we see here in America today.
Let's see here. Al, go ahead, Al. Unmute yourself.
Hi, hey brothers. How is everyone doing today? Bless.
Everybody doing well.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the link I sent you the last time. It's regarding, when we last spoke about this situation in Benin and, with the slave trade that we're talking about now. And I did had Ellery mention about the Sokoto Caliphate, Danfodio, regarding this same, yeah. But the question I was going to ask you: do you think if Danfodio was alive, this would have carried on?
If who was alive?
Danfodio. Do you think if he was alive during those days, Danfodio,
I
the guy that No, you don't know Danfodio, no? You probably don't.
I don't know Danfodio.
Okay. Right. Okay. Danfodio is a guy that he was a Sufi Muslim that came to northern Nigeria. He came to northern Nigeria from Senegambia to teach Sufi Islam. What
did he come? Around what year?
It was around the early 18th century, probably mid 18th century.
Okay, so this was before Sheikh Amadou Bamba in the Murid.
Yes,
movement.
It was. I think it was before that. Danfodio actually, is the one that apparently conquered the northern Nigeria and had the Hausa land. Because the reason why I'm asking, because the Hausa state, because there was no such thing as Hausa kingdom, the Hausa state in northern Nigeria, with the Yoruba state at the bottom, and also obviously where you're looking at now, where the slave trade going on, there was a lot of backward and forward slave trade that used to go on between them. But this king, however, Islam was already, the Hausa kingdom was already exposed to Islam around the 14th century. Basically they was already exposed to Islam, and Islam did not permit human sacrifice, worshipping paganism. And I'm not saying it's a good thing, what I mean? I'm not trying to glamorize, Islam or any form of religion whatsoever, but
I'm kind of confused. So he brought Islam to northern Nigeria. That's what you said, right?
He started to preach Sufi Islam in northern Nigeria.
Yeah, but the Islam that they practice in northern Nigeria is not Sufism. It's very orthodox, like
Sunni,
Arabic.
Yeah,
Sunni. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's because of Danfodio legacy. But before that, it wasn't. It was kind of relaxed Islam where you can do whatever you want to do.
But you said Danfodio was a Sufi from Senegambia.
Yes.
The Sufis I know in Senegambia, the Sufis I know in Senegambia, they're very. It would be considered like liberal Islam. Like it's not like the Sunnis.
Well,
the Sunnis don't consider their form of Islam real Islam.
Yeah, in a way that's true. That's true, but I think it eventually they did practice. No, I apologize. It was Sunni Islam. I apologize. I got that wrong.
Sufi. Yeah, I was gonna say no way.
Yeah, Sunni Islam. Sunni Islam. That's right. Yeah. So basically, Danfodio did had problem with the Hausa king, because the Hausa king was overtaxing the Hausa population, and at the same time, he was doing a lot of bad things that actually Islam do not permit whatsoever. And then because of his teaching of Sunni, he kind of galvanized support from the local Hausa people. They started liking Danfodio, right? And they start saying, hang on a minute, this guy is actually right. This is not what Islamic teaching said. Why is this king actually practicing this sort of?
I'm gonna let T.T. Miller on, but I'm kind of confused because I thought Islam was introduced to northern Nigeria by some guy from Iraq.
It was no. Well, it's kind of different type of Islam, yeah. But the kind of Islam I'm talking about, which is Sunni Islam that's in Nigeria today, was introduced by the Sokoto Caliphate, called by Sheikh Usman Danfodio. But Islam has already been in Hausa land around the 14th century, a long time ago. But it was a different type of Islam because it wasn't following it the right way, right? So it was quite liberalized, where you can do what you like. You can still follow this kind of practice like human sacrifice, and you can still overtax people, yeah. And Danfodio taught, no, this is not Islam. It's a wrong type of Islam. So basically, because of Danfodio teachings, right, he actually galvanized a lot of support by the local people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
go ahead.
So
let me pass to Mr. Lumumba. Go ahead, Mr. Professor Lumumba.
Well, just one of the issues I have when people say the right kind of Islam or the wrong kind of Islam or the right kind of Christianity is that typically the correct kind of the religion that they're talking about is the type that they're practicing. So everyone else is right, is wrong, and we're right. We saw this with the Catholic Church. We saw this with Calvinism. We saw this with Lutheranism. And the reality of the situation is most people are going to use any type of religious entity or power structure to what their personal benefit, right? Because it tends to be subjective, no matter how structured and disciplined one tries to make it be. We also know in the Quran that it states that if a person isn't a Muslim, you can enslave them. It talks about if a person is not a good Muslim, you can enslave them. It talks about that if your wife isn't doing what you want her to, you could beat her lightly. But if she asks for forgiveness, then all praise be to Allah. So at the end of the day, it's like, you're making a claim, but it doesn't make much of a difference.
Absolutely. Titi Miller, go ahead.
Yeah, greetings, Dynasty. Dynasty. I'm from Africa. Share where I'm from. The colonial boundaries shared us with Nigeria. I'm from Cameroon. So, yeah, as a Cameroonian, I hate to say that, but as an African, see, I know Nigeria very well. We have been one time from the colonial times. Britain merged us with Nigeria. We saw the practices of Nigeria and how they treated us. So our people say, no, we cannot be with these people, especially the Igbos. So we decided to come out and be on ourselves, but we were not independent at that time.
What about the Igbos?
The Igbos were not treating us very well. Like trading in the market, they treated our people so badly. Our people were in the parliament, so our people decided to move out of the parliament and said they will not want to be part of Nigeria. So they moved out and came back with. That's why you see Cameroon is speaking French and English, but I'm from the English side.
What tribe are you?
I'm from the northern part of Cameroon. We have so many tribes. My own tribe is called Bafanji. Bafanji is a small village in that large division. It's a small village. So yeah, but we came out. We came out from Nigeria, but we already saw how the Nigerians are behaving. And this is not any bad intention towards Nigeria, but there's something seriously wrong with the way Nigerians behave. Okay, even though it is not that really on social media for the rest of Africa to call it out because of the colonial boundaries, everybody is thinking about themselves. I'm not saying that even Saudi Cameroon is better either, but we have created this environment where we cannot trust each other to even find a pathway to come out from total, how can I say, for us to be on our own, you know. Nigerians still practice human sacrifices till this day. That's what I commented on the comment section. Nigerians still do that. There was one lady on YouTube who came out because South Africans were skeptical that because Nigeria is one of they have the biggest film industry in the continent, and you see them doing these things, like they act those type of film, those type of movies. So the South Africans always assume that is how Nigeria is. This lady came out and tried to clear out things. They was trying to lie, but I share the same. Like I said, I'm closer to Nigeria. I know that goes down there, and it has come across to our own side. Our people also practice those type of things. In another way, here in America, they call it Freemason, where they do some kind of human sacrifices, those stuff. In Nigeria, you have so many fraternity cults, and this is not. It's another way, like you said in the kingdom. I don't really know history that much, but for what you like on the movie, Hollywood is trying to bring up the female king. Those type of trying to for them to narrate what happened during slavery. It is still going on today. Nigeria is still praying that when I say praying, I'm talking about like a cat and an antelope. Nigeria is still preying on the weak. They're still preying on the weak. They sell out, they do the cost scamming people to go that there's a better job in Dubai, in all this Arab world, and which in another way, they are hiding the fact where they'll be going to, which is sex slave. Then I also have something to even say, because I know Nigerians right now are struggling to come out, at least Christianity. Some people are trying to speak against Christianity, which I love it. I love it so because there's so many hidden things going on behind Christianity. But my problem is with Black African Muslim. That's my problem. Black African Muslim. This was a religion that was brought upon us in Africa. Because I see Christians.
Hey, Titi, let me pass it to Michelle. Michelle, go ahead and unmute yourself, Michelle.
Okay.
Good day, everyone. Good evening, panel. How's everyone today?
You're doing good.
Okay, I appreciate this conversation because the Dahomey Kingdom is a section of our history, of the African diaspora history, and it's translating to what's happened to us today, as our brother Mr. TT just shared in his region. They have turned the whole Western Africa, and particularly focused it. They needed to be a slave trading holding ground to meet their needs. By hook or crook, they made it. And then inadvertently, they blame us for it. Understanding that we also have our devices as a people, don't get me wrong, but they exploited it to the extent now we're in a situation where slavery has become so massive, we can't even get out of it, nor see a way out of it until today it affects us today. And we're having this panel and we're back and forth with each other. So, and I appreciate Mr. Lalumba speaks in terms of giving his perspective. But I also want us to understand how slavery even exists today. Today, I work for a multi-million-dollar dialysis center. And guess who the primary people who are on dialysis are? Us. You know why? Because of our diet.
Right.
Our diet has been changed. Why was our diet changed? Why are we chronically sick? Why do we have so many things? So as we talk about the woman warrior, I just hope Hollywood doesn't sensationalize it or demean it. And
it's sensational. I can tell you right now, it's sensationalized. I can tell you right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, it's sensationalized.
I mean, and I appreciate Sister Michelle chiming in. And I thought, I'm not a fan of Hollywood doing historical movies on Black and African history because we know this is going to be historically disingenuous, and that's just putting it charitably. But I think if they would do a movie on a Black woman who was about that life, why not Yaa Asantewaa?
Good point.
Right? Who led the War of the Golden Sword, the last war of resistance against the British Empire that led to, unfortunately, the ultimate fall of the Ashanti Empire, right? But the other issue, and this is something I kind of just saw in a trailer that I think was kind of hinted at, and I believe this will take place in the movie, is this concept of the Black man being unwilling to fight, unwilling to defend his land and his people. Right? You can see in the trailer that she's almost having to tell him, hey, sometimes we just got to fight, right? And this really goes to what Edward Said over 50 years ago talked about in his groundbreaking book, Orientalism, right? When he talks about that when the Europeans would feminize the man and masculinize the woman to make themselves be seen as the paragon of masculinity and, of course, femininity.
Hey, am I speak to that, Brother Lumba? I hope I'm not taking you off the floor, because I see that in our community now, because right now, again, I work in an urban environment. We're getting gentrified. I'm seeing a lot of same gender relationships and women being masculinized to be men. And I mean, it speaks to so many levels. I don't know how to explain it right now. It upsets me to see us going down this downward spiral as a people, on the continent, in the Western country, in the Caribbean. I wish we can just open our eyes and see what's happening to us and make, and do something. Right now, they're masculinizing women. I have a young lady I'm working with, 16, going through the unquote unquote changes, where she wants to be with who or whatever. So again, this movie speaks to so much. Is there an agenda in this movie? I don't know. I'm just really confused at where we're at this stage as a people.
No, I agree. Ajisa, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, Chad, peace to the panel. I guess Michelle just said something to remind me. I think there might be an anthropological reason as far as when you talk about dialysis and kidney centers. There was, I'd read somewhere, I had actually read a book, and it was talking about how when they were packing slaves on the ships, they would do this thing where they would lick their faces to see if you could taste the salt on their skin. And I think that's why it might seem like African. Now the diet doesn't help. Don't get me wrong. It probably makes it worse. But they're genetically have a predisposition to have high blood pressure and kidney disease, because if you had salty skin, that means you were able to hold your water. You would need less water on the voyage. So there might be something to that when she said that. The only reason why I that was a side note, but the only reason why I came up, I guess, is to rebuttal one to what Al said. Dan Fodio spread, because I think he was being disingenuous when he was talking about the teaching. He tried to teach Islam. No, it was by the sword. So he would kill you if you did not convert to Islam. He was a jihadist. He came through jihad. Same thing, same way. Ben Quazim. The reason why you see on the Indian subcontinent, Pakistan.
Can I come back to that after, please?
Pakistanis are Muslim or practice Islam, whereas Indians practice Hinduism. They're the same people, but Ben Quazim came in and spread Islam through jihad. So I just want to say that, because he was saying as if he came down the horse and was teaching. No, it was through war, through conflict, the same way many religions were spread. And then I think Titi Milo, I don't, he might be true. I wasn't born then when there was when British Cameroon was a part of Nigeria. But I think right now Cameroon has a bigger conflict on his hand with the civil war that's going on with Bila and what the Francophones are doing. It's unfortunate, but yes, I understand. Hold on.
Let him speak. Let him finish. Let him finish.
I can't hear him.
One thing that you'll notice is that one thing that you'll notice, and I'm very careful to say, because I'll never tell somebody to sweep their pain and transgressions under the rug. But I'm sure, Dynas, as an outsider looking in, you've seen this. Africans have a gripe with every tribe. It's this person did this to us. Right. I mean, because he started off with Igbos. Now he's talking. Then he said he had a problem with Muslims. But then right now, I mean, because to me, it's the most silliest thing for Cameroon to be having a civil war. Yes, it's the French that are pulling the strings. It's a proxy war. It's kind of a proxy war going on. But you know, that right there is a bigger problem. You know, for a more immediate problem, I would say, right now with what's going on. Because to me, it's silly. They're the same people. I mean, Cameroon really wasn't. Cameroon has more tribes. I mean, it's not like Nigeria. We have the 3 major tribes. Cameroon has it's so many tribes, and it was so much intermixing that you really, you know, it's not as a big issue. But you can have they have the same mother tongue, but because one speaks French and one speaks English, they really think that I've been to Cameroon. They really think they're different people, and they're fighting.
In fact, Cameroon and Nigeria all the way to Central Africa was one land during Danfodio reign. Is that correct or not?
I'm not too sure, but I do know that
it was from northern Nigeria during Danfodio, from northern Nigeria all the way to Central Africa was under the Sokoto Caliphate.
Well, that's fine, but what I'm saying is he was a jihadist. He wasn't.
Of course.
Okay, because you didn't say that. You didn't say that because
it was jihad. It was jihad.
He wasn't teaching. He wasn't trying to spread.
He was a teacher.
He was by the sword.
Danfodio was a teacher. He used to teach Islam. He used to teach Sunni Islam in northern Nigeria.
But he wasn't trying to.
You cannot deny that.
It's one thing to teach. You don't teach somebody at the tip of a spear. You know what I mean? It's either by force or you die.
Right. As I said to you from the beginning, if you was to listen to what I was saying, when he came to northern Nigeria teaching Sunni Islam, I did mistake in saying Sufi, right? But Sunni Islam, he realized these people, the kind of Islam that they are practicing is not the right type of Islam. You know, Islam does not allow you to sacrifice another human being, according to the Quran. Islam does not allow you to slave Muslims, right? According to the Quran. Islam does not allow you to overtax you and basically teach people like servants on as a Muslim under Islam. So all these things, when you look at it together, you started to realize, hang on a minute, these people are not practicing the type of Islam, you know, that I am teaching. So by doing this, he obviously got support from the local Hausa community. Then he got invited, but the local king in the Hausa state invited Danfodio, pretend to invite him as a friend, but trying to assassinate Danfodio. But he failed because that was plotted by the local Hausa himself. You know, realized the king trying to kill Danfodio. Yeah, so obviously that failed. So they killed the king instead, and obviously when the king got killed, that's when northern Nigeria fell into the reign of Danfodio, and that's when the jihad started, all the way to Cameroon. Yeah, when Adamawa state, all the way down to Central Africa, was under the Sokoto Caliphate. Google it now while we're on the phone, while we're actually talking now. You can do that down, Brother Dynasty, and you can show everyone what I'm talking about. How far did the Sokoto Caliphate spread? However, when Danfodio reigned, when he died, his son Bello went the wrong way of doing it. At that time, you know, people started doing the wrong things again. Like, you know, they started, because, you know, there was a lot of rebellion going on in between the states, like between the Yorubas, the Oyo, this. I reckon that's what you're looking at from that movie. But most of the people that was doing the slave trade and the stuff between the Oyo, where is Benin, and the northern Nigeria and the Yoruba area, it's between the Yoruba and the Benin, and basically the Hausa and that Benin area. There used to be a lot of slavery going on between those two before Danfodio. But during Danfodio reign, that wasn't happening. Human sacrifice is one of the main reasons why, you know, the jihad was raised all the way down to Central Africa. So the Sokoto Caliphate did spread all the way to Central Africa. Cameroon was part of the Sokoto Caliphate.
Go ahead, Alex. Alex, you got to turn off the playback.
Can I say something? Give me 1 second.
Okay, sorry.
Tito, you got too much background noise and echo. All right, go ahead, Alex.
What's the subject of the video? Crime bill. Oh, you can't. You guys
Alex,
keep going.
Call back, Alex. Alex, call back, brother. Call back. Okay, all right. Sorry about that. All right, guys, do me a favor.
If I may interject, Mr. Prince. Mr. Prince, may I ask a question? Okay.
Go ahead.
I really again, this history of Northern Nigeria I was not aware of, and I was wondering, maybe we need to have more in-depth study. I'm not sure if or some type of references, because again, there's so many pieces of our history that we as Black people don't even know, understand, or even how it shapes our lives today. And it all intermingles on why we're here today. And I appreciate Brother Lalumba, but the point I'm trying to make with this Woman Warrior movie, or my concern, if it in this modern time, how does it, how does this affect us today, our psyche, our well-being? The Black family is being destroyed, is being attacked.
Well, I do know one thing. When FBA got the message out about the Harriet Tubman movie, Black people were the one that made it flop. They refused to see the movie, and that was a movie it was aimed at. I mean, Black people can do the same thing here. I mean, I'm looking at, the fact that I saw Viola Davis, I knew it was going to, she's what, 50 something years old? She's going to be jumping up and,
what's wrong? She looks good. I'm not hating on her looking good. She's looking good.
No, you gotta understand when the insult, one, they recycle the same old Black actors. Two, we already know what I know what her, I kind of know what her mantra is about. I mean, wasn't she the one that, talking about she regret, what was that movie, You Is Kind?
The Help.
Yeah, she said she regretted ever doing a movie like that, but she still does kind of movies like that. I mean, I just don't trust.
She also stated that she felt that more Black women actors should play and have roles in which they are the romantic.
She said that. And mind you, she's married. Mind you, she's married too.
If I could, in the trailer to the movie, she's kissing one of the invaders.
Oh, she is. I couldn't finish the trailer.
I thought one of the things that the homie did was per my memory, what I heard was that they seduced the settlers or whatever they were doing. And so we
would hope that would be the case, but the way they promote it, right? But the other issue is, even in the Harriet Tubman movie, they had her being the love interest of the slave trader's son, right? So we see this type of BS, being promoted, right? And if I could, very quickly, this also is promoting, once again, the stereotype of Black women being masculine and violent, and so on and so forth. And if I could, when we look at the movie Wonder Woman, they went and got someone who was a former Miss Israel.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Right. So if you think about the 007 movie with Halle Berry was, an agent, and she's doing stuff, but she was beautiful and feminine. They could have got someone the same way, almost like they did with the movie Black Panther, right? So, I think, once again, we're talking about,
you saying she's not beautiful? Viola Davis.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I would say that she's not on the high end spectrum of what I would consider an attractive woman. And I actually prefer dark skinned woman, but I don't think she's a baddie. I just put it that way.
Hey, you said that very politically correct.
But don't tell me though. I actually prefer to be with dark skinned woman. That's what I find most attractive. But if we're keeping it 100, Viola Davis is not a baddie. Now Lupita is. Lupita's a baddie.
Well, see, here's the thing. I hate the fact that we have to qualify that. I really do, because I'm at this point I'm sick of it, because I think it's just a cry wolf, and that's another topic. But like I said, when I saw her, I knew it was going to be some BS. There was a movie that came out. The movie about Amazing Grace. And I saw, like I said, I don't watch these movies because once I see a clip, I'm hypersensitive to that. It was a clip where they were on the shores of the Badaboni, and it was in Africa. First of all, she had a perm in her head. And I was like, okay, this is BS. But she was begging the guy that wrote Amazing Grace to stay. And I'm just and they always, when they have these movies, they present it like this. And it's not meant for brothers. It's meant to sell sisters this dream that one day, somehow, some way, Zaddy's going to have a total 180 and realize that, you know, she is who he needs to be with. And that's fine. I wish he, you know, I would take them all, you know.
Brother,
but
can I intercede, sir? If
go
you
ahead.
don't mind. What we as Black people need to do and really read is read Dr. Francis Chris Welsing's book. And once we understand that, like once I read her book, or at least got a better concept what her book was about, this racism thing, we're not gonna win this thing. It's just better for us to find our way as a people and do what we need to do. Period. Because it seems like we're getting dug into a deeper and deeper hole as we try to assimilate.
I mean, I think you're preaching to the choir, because most of the people here just have. I don't, you know, we're not. I barely hear Donis talk about we need to, because it's just not. It's not going to be possible. It's just not going to be possible. You know, some people
and not
are
to take
just
us too far off. I fear for the brother who's dating Bill Gates' daughter. I'm like, dude, are you crazy?
I mean, if it is what it is, I mean,
there's somebody in his family to talk to him. That's not somebody you want to mess with. You don't know how long this. You don't know how this is going to affect him in the long run in his life. If they don't kill you, they'll get you somewhere else. You know. So again, as we talk about these Dahomey, that relationship, our relationship with European people, haven't been healthy for us at all. And that's something we really need to speak on. And, you know, then we have these gatekeepers. When we try to express ourselves, they're always blocking us. I even see it in the chat.
Well, I think you know, it's funny because, and this was, I kind of alluded to this last time. You know, the Oscar Award was named after Oscar Micheaux. He was actually a Black filmmaker. So there is, after
say that again. It was named after the Oscar was named after a Black man.
Yeah, Oscar Micheaux. He was a Black filmmaker. So there was a burgeoning film industry. Now the barrier of entry, kind of as technology advanced, it got to the point where we couldn't afford it. But at some point, you know, Black people were competing. You had look at the Patterson car company. He was right there, right behind Henry Ford. What I say that to say is that until, you know, brothers start seeing themselves like, okay, I'm not going to complain about this. I'm gonna do something about it. I need to be a titan of industry. I need to control means of production. You know, I don't want to be the one talking about it. I want to be the one doing it. You know, that's why I don't talk much about, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. Because if I'm not doing it myself, who am I to put that on somebody else? But until, you know, we can have pushback to where, you know, I mean, because I think for the most part, Black people are going to know this movie. But until we start putting movies out that we want, that we can do, and I mean, the barrier of entry, where as far as technology has advanced, it is a lot lower. I mean, it's still, you know, you're still going to need a pretty penny, but it's a lot easier to produce your own films now than, you know, it was 10, 20 years ago. But you just don't see that, you know, at least, you know, I don't. You know, you don't see that.
I think we need to make movies about the Ghana Empire, you know, the Mali Empire, you know, like back in the days in West Africa before all this slavery business started.
Well, we just need to start making movies, period.
Yeah.
We just need to start making movies, period. We need to start, you know, doing something, period, to where we build up to that point to where, I mean, because it's
I heard
really...
Brother Dynasty was mentioning about why Black people only slave trade. We were slaving, you know, was trading in during the Ghana Empire. We was trading like big time, you know. Obviously, there was slavery was part of it, but the reality is, those days everyone was involved in slave trade. But during the in fact, if you look most of the history I read about Fuller and Malinke and the Olaf and so on. If you read their history, all he was trying to do is find trade route to export salt, you know, gold, you know, like commodities. That's what they was desperately trying to export to the world, you know. So, you know, I don't know, you know, where the cutoff, where things started going wrong. You know, it's like, I think it's as I was saying the last time, it's when some tribe that been marginalized. Like, I did feel sorry for the brother from Cameroon, when he was talking about, being oppressed by the Igbo, for example, yeah. And I reckon it's those type of tribe that always trying to seek outside help from the continent, that brought us some of the issues, to be honest with you. Yeah, basically. We need to start talking about, our own positive history.
Yeah,
But no, you can tell the movie's gonna be BS.
It is.
I looked at it. I mean,
don't forget also us West Africa, like the black people, from the Senegambia coast all the way to Morocco, and during the Almoravid dynasty, right? When our ancestors retreated in Spain and Portugal, they did brought white slave back to West Africa. They used to capture white slave and bring them back.
It was minuscule at the most. It was negligent.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it just that's why when they bring up, well, everybody was enslaved.
But maybe we should start talking about that. How we actually
it wasn't at this like the amount of slaves that were I guess sold from West Africa or just Africa in general. I mean, those pure numbers, I just don't see it anywhere else, unless I'm wrong.
What the colonizers did is internationalize slavery. That's nothing compared to bringing a few white people down to Africa. I mean, nothing.
No, that's true. Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. That's a good point.
And then when they try to generalize slavery, they're trying to minimize us. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, true.
Because today, the repercussion of slavery lives with us today. It will live through even after us. So, like again, as one brother mentioned, the whole ADUS, FBA, African diaspora disagreements. Yeah, it lives with us today, and it will live with us afterwards.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a very painful, and I'm not even African American, but it's very painful for me to I don't know how people like you guys, like Dynast, can do it when you read these things, because I love history, but it's almost embarrassing when you see the L that your ancestors took, in the sense that you made this kind of deal. That's like selling your house for a Nintendo NES, not even a Super Nintendo, but a Nintendo Game Boy.
Right.
And then you're like, what? If one, you want to go beat the ass of your relative that did it, but then you want to go beat the ass of the person that tricked them into doing it. And it's very painful. And I know people that their last name would be, I don't know, like Wilson, and they're from somewhere in Alabama, and where they're from, within 10 miles there will be a Wilson plantation of where they were from. The actual, I mean, you have people that were claiming, oh, we're from Monticello, we are descendants of Thomas. Dude, I would have burned that house down. I'm sorry. Like, I couldn't. I would have gone there on a tour to Monticello with some matches and some kerosene, and next thing you know, there'd be a fire, and I go to jail. But I just, it's a very painful and hurtful, history to deal with. Y'all better than me.
If I could interject, right, and I get where you're coming from, that history can be painful. Malcolm X talked to us about this, during his time, that, the history could be painful, but we had to learn it. And particularly because he said that we had to learn from our mistakes, right? And so I think that's one. Two, I wouldn't advocate committing arson, because the likelihood is that you will go away for such an amount of time.
I know.
When you come back, you can cancel Christmas, Yom Kippur, Kwanzaa, Day of the Dead, Chinese New Year.
I know, but I'm not gonna be around showing my face, taking pictures, saying, like, Strom Thurmond's kids, like his grandkids or great grandkids. I saw them in an Ebony magazine one time, and they were proud. They were like, we're Strom Thurmond's grandchildren.
Yeah, well, I don't understand that, but we do know that for some reason there are some Black people, just like other groups of people, who believe that somehow being in close proximity or living with or having some type of white ancestry will somehow tangibly make their lives better. I can recall one day, and if I could call one day I was at the gym. So, I'm trying to get my body by Lumumba on, my suit on Batman, keep it fit, right? So I'm at the gym and his brother was married to a white woman. I said, well, why did you marry a white woman? And he said to me that, well, she's going to make my life better. And I asked him, I said, so you're saying that by being with a white woman, a black woman could make your life better? And he got quiet. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I said, well, you just made it. That is what you just said. So I think, unfortunately, we have people who have internalized, of course, whiteness, right? Internalized centering whiteness, internalized putting whiteness on a pedestal as the paragon of humanity and human civilization. That's rather unfortunate. But I think what we, as Brother Dynast is doing, as many of us here on the panel are doing, is we do in our own unique way the best that we can to restore ourselves to our traditional greatness. And I think that's what we focus on. I think it's good for us to highlight when nefarious entities are seeking to promote this type of toxic garbage to us as a people, because we know we have to have people who are gatekeepers of culture to make sure that individuals or certain entities aren't bringing things in that are destructive to our culture, because we know this is what has happened for many years before. But with that being said, I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but I just think it's important for us to just learn from the history. And unfortunately, as we know, you could go anywhere in the world, or even Latinos who have a concept of marrying up if you marry a white person. So we know that, unfortunately, some of the issues that we face as Black people is something that a lot of formerly oppressed and colonized people deal with, and that is, of course, the liberation of their mind.
I'll tell you what, though, if I ever go to Matabo National Park in Zimbabwe, you know where that is? That's where Matabo National Park is where Cecil Rhodes wanted to be buried overlooking Africa.
Right.
Like, if I ever go there, I will piss on that dude's grave. Like, I don't understand how that y'all can how they can still leave that bastard over there. Like, fuck him. Dig his grave up and throw him in a ditch somewhere in Harare, like in a gutter. Like we got to stop, lionizing these. Look, I know history should be looked at objectively, but it's just some people we just.
But I don't. And I would argue that for the most part, Black people don't lionize white folk. I would make that argument. So when you talk about Cecil Rhodes, I would hope and I would make the argument that it isn't Black people who tend to lionize Cecil Rhodes, right? I mean, I've seen protests in South Africa where, they were pushing for certain statues of certain individuals to come down, right? We even know here in America, the Blacks on Campus movement, where many people argue that the predominantly white institutions were a citadel to, of course, the whiteness is the paragon of humanity and, of course, education. And so you had individuals arguing that the campus was promoting white supremacy. So take down these statues of all these former presidents and provosts and professors who were white supremacists. So I would make the argument that sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit.
I hear you.
Michelle, if I ask you from a woman's perspective.
Yes, sir.
I'm not saying not all, but I see a lot of women, Black women, who are like eating this film up. Like, oh, I can't wait. We women, we warriors. Then you explain.
One of my coworkers.
Right. Then you explain, like, look, this doesn't end like with a happy ending. They get the Amazons, they get slaughtered, literally, and the French colonized them. That's the end of the story. So they were working
for the take. That's it. For the take.
Yeah. I mean,
I live in the DC area, so we're a very liberal area. So the sisters I deal with are on even with the whole Roe v. Wade thing, they're riding that bandwagon, and they're not looking at it from their community perspective. They're looking at it from the liberal white woman perspective, and they're getting jobs through this. They're having great conversations. They're getting invited on panels. So I'm seeing the little rewards they're getting on taking
butter biscuits, as they say.
What'd you say?
The butter biscuits, as they say.
Yeah, exactly.
but here's the thing. Women are never going to correct other women. That's why I gave up. I'm sorry, but someone like Michelle, I mean, even if she is a loud voice, a lot of times women are kind of silent on all these things. They're not gonna, like I said, they know that rift, that chasm is there, and they're gonna exploit it. And unfortunately, it feels. I mean, you've seen commercials where, and they do the same thing with men, but you see commercials now. If you see like where it will show a family, and it will show, you know, they always show the rainbow family or interracial family or whatnot. These type of things kind of feed that hope for them, like, oh, this is, you know, it feeds it's an ego trip. It really is. It's an ego trip for them, you know.
Yeah, but also it also is on us because we don't control our image anymore. We don't control, you know, until we as a people decide, hey, we're going to have to take the lead in certain things, because if we don't, it has long repercussions in our legacy as a people. You know, I know this is, you know, it's bigger than this conversation, but we're still under domination, and this domination.
No, but too many sisters are willing participants.
But you got to think, if you want to co-opt a community, you co-opt the women first.
You know, it's funny.
Yeah.
But you know what? I was.
And I see why, because as a woman, I have to protect my needs. I have to protect my young. I have to protect myself.
Okay, so how come they didn't? How come they didn't do that in Afghanistan though? They couldn't split the men and the women. They weren't able to do that.
The men said no. The men said no.
Simple answer to that.
So it means that they go after the men first before you can be able to get to the women. You don't compromise a society by going after the women first. It's through the men.
Mm-hmm.
Because most men protect their women. So if they are getting into our communities because they have compromised the men already, that's why they are getting there. It's just a fact of this in life. From the point of view of the movie, I don't know why we are complaining, because we have black movie makers and we don't see them making the history of Haiti and the victories. We don't see them making movies of the Kushite kingdom and how they fought the Romans to a standstill, and the Romans had to sign a peace deal with a one-eyed queen, while England was actually being enslaved at that time by the Romans. So we have our own movie makers, but they're not doing these things. Then why are we complaining when other people do it from their own point of view? It's just what it's going to be. And it's the black lady Davis. Is she not going to get a job because a black actor is not making the right movies? She has to earn a living somewhere along the line. So we have to hold ourselves accountable to an extent. We can't always be pointing fingers at people. You know, it's just one of those things I thought I should add.
May I push back, Mr.
Sister Michelle, if I could just interject very quickly, very briefly, and I hope I'm not offending you by cutting you off.
Conversation.
Yeah, but I want to say this. I think it's a false equivalency when they bring up what took place in Afghanistan. I think one of the things we have to understand is that this is America. You can't make a woman do anything. This is a free country, and if you try to make a woman do something against her will, you're going to go to jail. And places like Afghanistan, North Korea, Iran, that's the way things are ran. Right? If a woman wants to go to school in Afghanistan, she's going to get acid thrown on her face. So it isn't a situation, in my opinion, of they're coming after men and coming after women. We live in a free society in which theoretically people can do whatever they want. So a person can say, I'm going to do whatever I want, even if it is in contravention of the best interest of my racial ethnic group. And by law, if we try to hold them accountable or do something as a result of them selling us out, we would be what? Privy to
there are Indians in America.
The U.S. was in control of Afghanistan for 20-something years, and they couldn't crack that.
I was in the military. I did 6 years in the Army, and the whole time they were fighting back because they had an issue with being occupied. And what happened? Eventually, America left with their tail between their legs. So they occupied Afghanistan just like Italy occupied Ethiopia during World War II, but they never accepted American rule.
Dr. Lumumba, can I ask you a question? What system do you think? Because I can tell you a guy with knowledge, right? What system do you think is best for our people? Because I noticed you're not
in terms of what?
In terms of social cohesion, communities and stuff like that. What are you looking at now, like in terms of beliefs and stuff like that? Because I noticed you're not a fan of foreign religion in the continent. I noticed that a lot. So what do you think we need to go back to for us to actually get back on track?
Well, I appreciate the question. I know it's directed personally at me, but I hope that even other people can, provide a perspective. But what I would say is I don't think we should go back to anything, because what we were doing is what put us in the situation that we are in now.
Okay.
I'm a Pan-Africanist, and I believe as a Pan-Africanist, one of the things that Pan-Africanism teaches us that we should be politically, socially, and economically pragmatic, right? With that being said, I'm a reasonable person. I think one of the biggest things that we need to do, and we are doing in certain locations, is building our own institutions, right, to serve the needs of our people. I'm going to give a brief story, then I'm going to shut up. Maybe about 19 years ago, I was dating a sister from South Sudan. She was a beautiful sister. And I went to a wedding with her in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So we drove to Pittsburgh, and the wedding was some brothers and sisters from South Sudan who had a wedding at this all-white church. And of course, the white people were missionaries. So I said, dang, how are they getting all of these brothers and sisters from the continent, from Kenya, from Sudan, to come here and fall in line with this white Christianity, this white Jesus? So I asked to use the restroom. I'm going down the hall, and I see all this list of all the services they were providing them. And so what tends to happen is what? If you serve the needs of the people, they will be open to what? Listening to whatever your philosophical, ideological perspective is on life. And oftentimes they will adopt that. So in my opinion, and I know I'm maybe not answering your question the way you would like, but I think we have to focus on serving the needs of our people if we really want to retake control of the African mind.
Thank you.
I agree with that. I mean, that's a great point. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So,
right,
if I can ask a question, okay, let me just make a few comments about some of all these things we've had. I think that maybe when we are criticizing, we should look a little bit more inwards. I've watched, I was speaking to somebody recently, an American that calls himself European. I was like, okay, how is that possible? You say you're African American, but you say you're European at the same time. He said because they are living in a European culture. So, but that doesn't make you this is European. You might be African or American, but you are not European. He said because we are, you have this confusion in our people where they say all kinds of things, and that is because our people have proven to be relatively unorganized. If we do better on the continent, you start seeing things change. It's one thing for people to be looking. Somebody mentioned about images of white and black families and stuff like that in the media these days. That is true. Technically, there's nothing wrong with that. However, because everybody,
there's a lot wrong with that.
Hold on. Hear my point. Hear my point first. The reason why that's if you look at it from a more higher level point of view, the world sooner or later needs to stop the acrimony between them. But in the meantime, when you are in a less you are in a weaker state and you are mixing, that is not mixing, that is slow motion extermination going on. And that is something that people should be aware of, because when you are mixing with the people that are controlling the flow of mix, what will happen is that, let's say an example, somebody gets married to a white lady, has a child. Chances are that the child would want to get married to another white person.
That footballer in Spain, prime example. His father's Guyanese. His father's Guyanese, mother white. He married a white lady. Child is practically white. Grandchild is practically white. We're done.
Hey, Michelle, hold on 1 second. Michelle, I'll give you another one. Have you seen Diana Ross's grandchildren?
Oh, yes.
Colin Powell's grandkids as well. Another example. Colin Powell's grandkids.
So that's what I mean by slow motion extermination. That's what is happening there, because there's a reason why the Neanderthals are 2% in the gene pool, because it depends on how you mix. You have to mix from a position of power. You can't mix from a position of weakness, because they control the flow then. And that is something, anybody that thinks, this illusion of inclusion is a good idea, that is extermination that they are signing up for without knowing it.
Let me ask you guys, the ones that are in the UK, because I think that's one of the things that you got to understand. The British, the English are very cunning when it comes to this. At some point, they realized a long time ago that they were going to stop fighting with this. And because when they say, I think is the percentage of black people in the UK is only 2%, but they also said that mixed race, it is growing by is the largest growing ethnic group in the UK. You see that going on in France now, to the point where um, I've seen people with, it's weird, it's very confusing. I've seen people with African last names, and when you look at them, blonde hair, blue eyes, because by the second generation, you can no longer tell, that they're because they're phenotypically they look white. What has that helped race relations at all in the UK? Because a lot of people think that this quote
not yet. But however, like the city where I live in Bristol, 15% of the population is black. 30%
black or
of the
mixed race.
children, black and mixed race, they add it all together. 30% of the children that are born in the hospital are black, mixed race from black background. So, and before the UK joined the EU, there was predicting in 50 years the UK would be nearly 50% mixed race country. So Tony Blair decided to open up the border to the Eastern Europeans to flood in. So, they will never let that happen.
Are mixed race people a threat? Because what happens and what you see is maybe the women, because I guess, but even at that, I mean, the women, especially over here, I guess they tend to get preferential treatment amongst the men. But other than that, half of the group, the men, continue to marry into the larger society, and then when you see those children, like I said, by the second generation, you can't tell that they're.
Right.
There was this guy. He's the mayor. Give me one more. I just want to say he recently died. He was the mayor of a French town. He is the great grandson of, and the grandson of the first black French footballer. It was Senegalese. I forgot the guy's name, but his father was a diplomat, one of the first people to be educated in France, a Senegalese guy. So as time, and he would later deny. I mean, because his great grandfather is a very famous Senegalese scholar during French occupation. But he would, I got to find his name, but he would deny his Senegalese background. And from there, his family. I mean, they've already, they're
I mean,
much
I don't know about France, but in the UK, most of the mixed race people that I know, they actually tend to be with the black people. They side with the blacks.
Even the males.
Well, what's that?
I'm talking about the males.
Hold on, Al.
Europeans are very clever.
Okay,
Go ahead. Yeah, if I could interject. So this is something we see white folk doing globally. I always tell people when I'm working with young people and we talk about racism, white supremacy, I always show them a clip of the movie Independence Day. It came out back in 1996, starred Will Smith. And they talk about the aliens invaded, and the same battle has unfolded all across the world the same exact way. And I said, it's like chess, right? And I'm actually going to a chess tournament at about 5 o'clock, about a couple hours. And I'm gonna whoop those white folks' ass. Trust me, we're gonna always bet on black when it comes to be on the chessboard. But what end up taking place is we find this even in Hawaii. What do white folk do? They go over there, marry somebody, a Polynesian person who is not politically savvy, and then the next generation of children will be what? Racially, they can identify as Polynesian, but ideologically, they're white, and now the whole white family has access to those resources and to the land. So the second issue, when we're talking about this odd concept of biracial, is something that, of course, is contemporary, but also historical. And one of the things that this reason this is done is to get black people to work against ourselves, right? So we know during the Haitian Revolution, what ended up taking place was Napoleon, the petit general, as he was known, right? He told his generals to use those differences, use the biracials against the black Africans, make the biracials think that they're different, but we know we all see them as the same, right? And we see those same issues taking place in Haiti now, right? So these are it's a historical and contemporary issue in which, unfortunately, we are once again being used to what? Against each other for the benefit of what? White folk, white supremacy, and of course the the white power structure. So we have to really be cognizant of these things. I know I've come across some brothers who were mulatto. I personally don't look at a person's parental heritage because you can't control how you got here. I look at, are you always betting on black? We know Booker T. Washington was a mulatto. We know Frederick Douglass was a mulatto. We know T. Thomas Fortune, who was as black as it gets, and of course was the editor of Marcus Garvey's Negro World newspaper, I think was an octoroon. So I don't really look at that. I look at the person is black-minded, but we know that on a macro level, many brothers and sisters who have come from mixed racial ancestry, mixed racial heritage, have issues with who they are and where do they align themselves in terms of the fight for, of course, black people restoring ourselves to our traditional greatness.
I think that's an interesting.
Hold
Hold on.
One second. No, let Mashawn. Let me pass to Mashawn. Go ahead, Mashawn.
Like the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun. And I just want to talk to the testosterone in the room for a minute. You might not agree, but there is a shortage of Black masculinity. And I'm going back to the movie, and I'm going back to what's happening today in a conversation of the mixed races, of being blacked out with whiteness. Now, in that movie, which is some of the same things happening today, even through my girl Harriet Tubman, when your children and your family and you are being at risk of death for generations, the woman in you have to step up. You know why? Because who's around to have your back? If the Black masculine men like a Shaka Zulu was around, we wouldn't have to step to the challenge. And it's the same thing.
So we're gonna have to cut that up, right? Because I'm sorry, I'm going to interject.
But it's not too many of y'all.
No.
Well, single motherhood made sure of that. Okay, so
right.
single motherhood.
It's extremely disrespectful to argue that black men on a macro level aren't handling our business. I think that's a stereotype. That's a trope. We know if you go to blackdemographics.com, we know 51% of black men are in the middle class. I think 54% are in the middle class and don't have children. The second issue is, unfortunately, we know that on a macro level, many women here in America have taken on the concepts of feminism, meaning they don't need a man. They don't have to be with a man. So if you don't want a man, if you don't need a man, then hey, you can't then ask someone to then be masculine when you want them to be and protect you. Because part of being masculine isn't just showing up and beating on your chest and saying, fee, fi, fo, fum, I'm the big bad wolf and I'll blow your house down. Part of being masculine is being able to problem solve. Part of being masculine is having proactive education to prevent us from even being put in precarious situations to where harm could come to us. So I take umbrage with you, unfortunately, coming in and making claims about men on a macro level. We know here in America, there are about 25 million black men. And I would make the argument, and there's there's a great stream of study on black misandry and how these tropes about black men continue to be perpetrated and promoted, even though they are not true and are not backed by data. The CDC, the Center for Disease Control, just came out with a study stating that black men are more involved in their children's lives than any other racial ethnic group of men in the country. So now let's talk. That women have to do things on their own.
Let's talk. Okay, Professor Lumumba. Let's talk internationally.
You're digitizing. Your internet stream is digitizing. Lumumba.
Let's talk internationally. How about the woman now? And how about the female woman now, Nigerian, in somewhere in the Congo, where she has to take her rifles because they're killing the Black Muslims over there, the farmers. She's taking her gun, and they did a documentary on her too, to resolve an issue where the men should be taking their freaking guns. Now I can even go by today. There's a lot of situations. There's a lot of situations, even now here on this continent, America and abroad, where the women has to take charge. Because if the woman didn't have to, I very doubt it seriously that they would. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's some things I've tried to done, and some of the black crooked men, we talk about the black crooked politicians, the black crooked men will slash your throat, stab you in the back, and do all sorts of stuff when you trying to do things for your people.
What about the politicians twerking? What about those? What about the politicians?
That ain't us.
What about the politicians?
That's one of the reasons why women. That's one of the reasons. Hold up. That's one of the reasons why women have adopted. I see the masculinity spirit that you see on women, which really shouldn't be there, but I believe is there because it is taking the place of something that is missing.
Yeah, I think I share some of your opinion. I think, Lumumba, you have to ask yourself that among all the group of men in this world, the black men has not done their due diligence to defend their communities, even given the context that they have a large population on the face of the earth. The Asian man today that is 5 foot tall has done more to regain their destiny than the black people have done. Even if we have one of the largest continents on earth, and we have the physique for it, we have everything that we need, but we haven't done it. Look at Africa. The black countries are the weakest ones. No, let me finish my point. The black countries, I don't see. We have to take this. This is why I came here, and one of the things we have to take accountability for what is happening here.
I'm with that. I'm with accountability. So what I'm not into is slinging mud at each other. No one is going to. Hold on. I'm going to say this, and I'm gonna use a personal example as an anecdote. I'm the baby in my family. I'm the youngest child. When we left the home, my mother and father would tell my older sister and older brother, "He's your responsibility." Do you think my brother and sister would want to protect me on the playground or at the park or around the corner at the local bodega if I'm telling them that they ain't shit every second? No. The energy that you put out is going to play a role.
Your father will not care what excuse you give for not protecting them, whether they are saying garbage or not. Your father will hold you accountable for not protecting them. See, if they give you a charge, if your charge is to protect your siblings, you protect them. That's what you do. It doesn't matter what they say. This is not a child's play. Hold on, let me finish my point, please. Let me finish my point, because this is a very, very serious issue we are talking about here. We have to take accountability. We can't pretend we walk around this world, strutting around that we have done our due diligence. Men set the pace. We set the tone in societies. We found the nations, and when Arab men tell their women to wear hijab, they wear hijab. When Afghani men tell their women, you don't go to school, they don't go to school. The white men tell their women, go to school, they go to school. We men set the pace. I'm not going to hold African Americans.
It don't work that way in America.
Every other group does the same thing. We can't pretend as if we have done our own due diligence. The men in the black community. No, let me finish my point. The men in the black community, especially in Africa, which I hold more responsible, have not woken up to their duty. They are the weakest countries in the world today. In terms of their defense, in terms of defending their people, they are the weakest people in the world today. So why are we pretending as if that is not a fact? And what is stopping us from doing better?
Can I add something? But what I'm also saying, context needs to be given. And like I said, this is America. You can't make a woman do anything in America that she doesn't want to do. You're going to end up in you're going to end up in jail. That's a fact.
Lumumba, do you know why?
That's not excuse me. That's
make a woman do anything here.
Hey, one mic. Hold on. One mic. We got.
Can I say something? Lumumba.
Let me pass it to Sean real quick. Opportunity.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yo, shout out to Nigeria. You're making a great point. I definitely hear what you're saying, but I'm saying bump that. I hold all parties accountable. And you know, I don't even want to get into massive amounts of other groups' history that y'all kind of look over. It takes both groups, men and women. I don't want to hear nothing about women can't do this. When it came to the European Second War, which y'all call World War II, it was Russian women and children that brought Russia from the brink of extinction and genocide. So women and children could just do as much duty of the survival of a nation as a group of men. Triple Alliance War with Paraguay, Uruguay, and Brazil got wiped out. It was Paraguayan women and children that brought the nation back to bear. So it is not this old excuse, the men fail and then we get wiped out. Many other cultures had women and children put their hat in the ring and actually bring their country back into order. So what I'm here to say is that we have excuses for many shit that we do. And like the brother said, there is a lot of misandry going about the black men. And there's a lot of misandry, you can get it from Tom Curry. He does a lot of that information about, misandry about the black people. But you're right, too, Nigeria. Everywhere you go, it's a problem. And it's not black leaders. I'm tired of hearing politicians. No, it's black people. You can't have good leaders without a good group of people. The CCP couldn't have did what it did without a determination from men, women, and children that decided to put in everything they had for self-determination. That's how China became what it is today. They didn't have excuses. We're not going to see it in this generation. They didn't make excuses. They became productive people in the world, and they took the positions in which they had to when they were serving the rest of the Europeans, and now they're the king on top. Now they put their way and their country in a position where they produce majority of the things in the world, so everybody needs it. So what I'm saying is we have failed to do it across the board. I'm tired of these excuses. Y'all get too freaking rudimentary and revisionist talking about, oh, it's the men. And no, it's all of us. It's black people. It takes all people to rule a nation. And if you think men can just bogart their way into a future where black people are going to be living in Wakanda, then you're sorely mistaken about any culture, any group of people, and how they came into power. It takes both parties. Black women ran. Wait, hold on. Let me finish. I'm almost done. Black women decided to, raise their children to be passive, to play with the system. But guess what? Women didn't do that. 1804. Haitian women decided not to do that. They threw their hat in the ring, and they did actually program their children from boys and girls to fight the battle in combat, not to compromise, not to bend the knee, and not to actually fold. So all groups across the
I
board,
didn't teach my children to bend the knee. That's a lie right there.
You going to the
talking about on the macro level.
About the individual, on a massive level.
Here's the thing: both True Niger and Lumumba Speaks are correct. True Niger is correct from a macro perspective. Lumumba's correct from a micro perspective. And here's why I can say I have this nuanced perspective: is because, like I said, if I didn't open my mouth, you wouldn't know that I'm Nigerian. Okay, I have a lot of the beliefs, a lot of the values that True Niger has, because I actually went to school in Nigeria. My parents sent me back to Nigeria. It was only when I came here, when I got back, turned 18, that I got hit upside the face, and I really saw what it was. Because you know why? Society did not see me as True Niger. I don't talk like this. When I'm speaking, I do not speak like this. When I'm upset, I do not talk like this. I don't have an accent. Okay, so I got treated like a black man in society, and I can tell you, I'll be honest with you, because I do well for myself now, but the circuitous route that I had to take to get there, the critical thinking that I had to use just to get to where I am now. I mean, I'm 15 years behind, and I can tell you that yes, black women had a major. They played a major hand in undermining a lot of things. Now, and then not just me, but a lot of black males will tell you that black women played a big role, especially if you're corporate in America, undermine. And I'm not even talking about from a relationship perspective, because I don't even have them type of problems. But in the workplace, they undermine you. Okay, they don't do it to African men because they don't see African men as as I guess a formidable opposition, or they're not threatened by African men. That accent disarms people. Hold on, let me finish. That accent disarms people, and I'll tell you why. Because every time I'll work with somebody from Africa speaks, the person can be from West Africa. The white person will say, "Oh, yeah, our church, we went on a mission to Uganda," and I'm thinking to myself, that's on the whole other side. They don't even know anything, so they're not threatened by you. But it's black males in this society can tell you, anyone that has strived for anything can tell you how, I hate to say this, I hate to say it, but regressive or treacherous some of the sisters can be. So that True Niger doesn't understand from that perspective, because they don't get hit as hard. I had a cousin come here in 2008, was able to establish herself, didn't have the bumps and the bruises that I had. We're both from the same place. same blood, everything. It's just that I have when I go into the world, I'm this tall black guy. Same thing with Lumumba. That's how the world sees him. They don't see us. They're not looking. They don't see see somebody and think. First thing they think is National Geographic's hut in a village and flies and all. They don't think that. So like I said, yes, Chunaja is right from a macro perspective, but Lumumba is very right from a micro perspective. It's a lot of microaggressions that black men deal with in this society. So to just for Mashawn to get up there and say, "Oh," I mean, think about it. It makes no sense. Like, so imagine all of a sudden we had these families. Then one day we're like, "Oh, you know what? I don't want to do this. and we just walk out the house.
Right,
I mean,
that's exactly
if you let
ridiculous.
them paint the picture, that's what they'll make it seem. You know,
Mhm.
they helped us do all these things. We got to this area, we got to this point, and then one day, like that movie Diary of a Mad Black Woman, we just, I don't like you because you're black, and I don't want you. I'm gonna give me somebody else, and we just march out like that. That's big. That's utter
Right.
bullshit.
Right. Like, yeah, and it's
So,
just it's really white feminist propaganda. And I'm gonna say this: my daughter's upstairs right now. We're about to go to this chess tournament, and she about to give it to Becky with the bad hair, in my opinion, right? But I want to say these are things that I've seen because I work with black male forums, right? In my hometown, I work with a fatherhood initiative, and I've seen situations where brothers say, "Hey, I'm gonna pay all the bills." This is what oftentimes you hear women say, "I want a man who's gonna provide." But then what he gets in return is, "Oh, you're only paying all the bills because you want to be in control." We're supposed to be equals. Okay, it's the 21st century. Fine, we're equals. We can split the bills down the middle. Now you're not a real man because you won't pay all the bills. So what tends to happen is if you're in the catch-22, you damned if you do, damned if you don't. But what I don't like doing is going into any conversation blindly and blatantly stereotyping an entire demographic group of people. I'm not into that at all. I think that is just extremely disrespectful and intellectually disingenuous to stereotype an entire group of people in any way, shape, or form. Right? I find that to be
I think
extremely problematic.
eventually one has to call things to account because they said by their fruits. If the
Okay,
fruits is
to Niger,
indicating that there is not a lot of success that is coming through, then somebody has to be held accountable. We can't keep coasting along as if we are, because in the continent, I give it to African Americans, they are behind enemy lines. There is a lot of stress in their societies, but the continent could do better. You can also accuse the African Americans of not taking advantage of what they have, because look at the other groups. Even if they are also oppressed in the West, one way or the other, they manage to figure out a way out of it. So what is it about us that we have not figured out a way? Because we have a lot of advantages. Like the other day, they discovered $12 trillion worth of gold in Uganda. No, African Americans are separate from it, and the other Chinese people are going to go there and rip the whole thing. The Indians are going to show up there.
to
What is
Niger,
it about our people that we are not taking advantage of our advantages to empower ourselves? On the
And
continent,
there are
it's even
people in our
worse.
community that are doing those things. And this is why
We
I'm
are not
pushing
doing
back
it enough. The
because
result is still bad.
wait,
Absolutely.
to Niger, you're making broad statements. First of all, you
I'm
just
not
mentioned.
see, because
Wait. Let me talk. You're saying that Uganda they found the gold, and then suddenly you're like, now China's gonna come in, and you're going to like the worst possible scenario automatically.
it's been
They
happening
just found
already.
the
It's not the
gold.
worst possible. It's already happening. How can you say that?
In
This
any
is
case,
the story of the
okay.
whole continent.
In any case, no, it's not. It's not the story of the whole continent because
Give me an exception.
wait, let me talk then. Because the thing is, look, I agree to what you're saying to a certain extent, but to Lumumba's point, we can't just be speaking as if every single thing is doom and gloom. There are nations in Africa that are now starting to progress and become middle income, middle economy nations. For example, like Botswana,
yeah, I was about to say Botswana, yeah.
Botswana, Rwanda, and some other countries as well too. What's going on now? What's the problem?
Rwanda is complete rubbish.
Okay,
I don't know why people talk
okay.
about
You know
Rwanda.
what?
Nigeria has better values than
you
Rwanda.
say Rwanda, and then like people just start losing their minds. The fact is, Rwanda has made a lot of progress. But I also mentioned Botswana as well too.
yes, yeah.
Yes, I've also mentioned Botswana as well too. Ghana is also
Tiny
making
country.
strides. Can I finish?
2.something million people. Botswana is what you are talking about. But in a country of 1 billion people.
Can I finish?
Can he finish?
Okay.
Go ahead, Baka.
God damn. Man. Anyway, yeah. So I was gonna say Ghana is also as well making some strides as well too. The thing about our African countries that we need to realize is that our countries are not homogeneous as a lot of these other countries you mentioned, such as China and such. Our countries are very heterogeneous, meaning these are countries where different groups of people that had different kingdoms were basically just forcefully put into a singular nation with each other. I think that's why we've had a lot of these issues, as we've been trying to figure out, national unity and such for the longest time. And I think now we're starting to get to that point where people from these countries are starting to adhere to a national identity. And once you have that down packed, it becomes a little bit easier to help push the needle for the nation to progress. There's a lot of great strides that are being made in Africa. And I think that in the next, they're predicting in the next 50 years, the majority of not the majority, but I think 1 in 4 every person on planet Earth will be African. So I don't think we necessarily have to worry about extinction, as some people were saying here. And the other point I wanted to make is as far as like, here's one metric I can say Africa is doing in comparison to how they treat women compared to other places in the world. If you look at the femicide rates globally, right, of the top 25 nations in the world, 50% of them are in Latin America, 7 of them are in European countries, 3 are in Asian countries, and only 1 is an African country, which is South Africa. So, African men it's not all doom and gloom is basically what I'm trying to say. There are things that we can do to improve, but I do think we are making steps towards that improvement. And I think we should give ourselves a little bit more encouragement and credit for the things we have done and are doing. So, yeah.
Hey, Dennis,
patting
I got a
yourself
quick
on the
question
back for this.
Okay.
Look how
If
we start patting ourselves on the back for this, then what are we going to do when things go bad?
Go ahead, obstacles. Go ahead. Ask the question.
Let me ask you a question. How many good leaders in African history would you say we had?
Starting from when?
Starting from whenever you want, man. Let's say 200 years ago.
Okay, so we got Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba.
All right, let's start there. When they got their wigs twisted and they got popped, what did most Africans do in those countries?
Whoever the puppet that the West put in, support the puppet.
So what I'm saying is, and I said that because once again, it's the people's problem. African leaders have been up there and they paid the ultimate price. But when you have a group of people, which is African people, when you can literally go in their country and twist back the cap of their leaders, and what they're going to do, burn tires for about 2 weeks on some Haitian stuff, right? Like you're going to go ahead and just say you the DEA and roll up in a presidential suite and just...
If even that.
So now let me ask you this, Dynasty. Would you think it's possible that we go there and do something to the ambassador of China? What do you think Chinese people would do to that embassy of that country?
Oh, it's getting burned down. People drugged down in the middle of the street.
Wait, can I interject?
Let me finish just before you interject. What I'm saying is the reality is that other groups and all groups in the world know that they can press Africans and nothing will happen. That's the truth. Nobody's worried about no retaliation. Nobody's worried. They just free game, free range in the African continent. And that's something that we have to face and we have to understand. I'm not saying that we have to go out here and act crazy, but what I'm here to say is that I know. I'm not no guy who's just running in circles, bro. I just know where I was. I was in the highest echelons of government, bro. It's known, bro. Everybody knows. So as much as you say, oh, we're progressing, as Dr. Amos Wilson says, I don't care about all the reasons. They did this because of history, The only reason we get treated the way we get treated is because we have failed to develop the power in order to stop other people from doing it. I don't care about the reasons and why they do it. It's because it's because of this and that. It's irrelevant, Dr. Amos Wilson says. The only thing is we have failed to develop the power to stop other people to do what they want and have their way with us, regardless of how they feel, what they think, what they say, what they want to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It doesn't matter. And until Black people, any group of dang Black people, develop power to stop that from happening, then they will constantly be placed in situations where other groups are going to be in the driver's seat. So that's the primary issue.
Hey, obstacles.
Power is,
if you're,
go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, if you're a fan of Amos Wilson, you remember this line: "We must forget the past. Forget the past."
Your obstacle. I just wanted to say
go ahead.
I can agree with what you're saying, but again, I mean, I just want to bring balance to the conversation here because I just don't want us to I also
Yeah,
want us
I
to.
hear you.
Yeah, I just don't want it to be. It's not more so I'm saying like let's ignore the problems. I'm saying let's acknowledge the problems, but let's also acknowledge steps that people have taken to address those type of problems, and then try to export that to other regions of the continent. For example, there was this story back in 2022. Well, actually, yeah, this year earlier in June, and basically the thing was Kagame, he deported like 18 Chinese investors from his nation. I can read the Global News Network quote here. So they're not all. Some of them were from Liberia, actually. Some of them were actually from Lebanon as well too. And so Kagame said, "Africa is for Africans. We can't be slaves in Africa. We don't tolerate the nonsense of discrimination here." So in April, the 20 Chinese nationals were sentenced for torturing and grabbing land from native Rwandans. So when the Rwandan government heard of this, they, expelled and deported them. And Kagame made that statement. So that is something that a president in an African country did in response to someone coming into Africa thinking that they can do whatever they want. What's stopping a government like Nigeria, which has more resources than Rwanda, or a government like Ghana, Congo, et cetera, from doing the same thing?
I would say dang the government. I don't even want to put it on the government.
Well, because like Tunaja was saying,
because I mean, there's the Congolese are always
I think it's a valid question to ask why our leaders on the continent haven't done their due diligence, because we are running our countries.
Okay,
fair point. It's still the people. I think you are correct. Obstacle that the people are the problem, because we keep blaming the leaders. We forget that if we change, the leaders there's nothing the leaders can do. They will do our bidding. That is what happens, and the people need to change to demand a change on the ground. Let me just finish my point. Let me finish the point I'm making, because if you look at the continent today, most of our countries have stood down with the ability with their capability to defend themselves. This is very disgraceful, because there is no other part of the world that behaves like that. But yet nobody's calling this stuff out and saying the people are mean. They are not calling it and saying, why are you leaving our country like this? Why are you not defending us? They keep talking about, like in the case of Nigeria, they talk about technology all the time. Oh, we need technology to defend the country. I tell them, but America has 10 times more soldiers than you, and they have more technology than you. Why do you think they have 10 times more soldiers? Because they understand that human beings are the most advanced creation in all universe that we know of so far, and you are not using the resources. 200 million people you have on the ground in Nigeria, we are not using them for anything. This is why Africa is so insecure. Look at Ghana too. Ghana is another big problem. Ghana has got 31 million in population, but guess how much soldiers they have? 15,000 soldiers. This is something that no other people do. It's only us that do these things. South Africa, that is part of the BRICS. Just look at the military strength of all the other parts compared to that of South Africa. It's a total joke. Nigeria had a prison where people broke out recently, and they didn't even have a CCTV camera in that prison, and it's supposed to be a national prison.
Hold on. Man, that's another show, that whole prison break in Abuja, the capital city.
Unbelievable stuff. Unbelievable stuff. This is the kind of stuff that these are our people. What is wrong with us? We should be the most paranoid people on earth. No, let me finish this point.
You can't defend your country without weapons.
Let me finish this point. This point is important. We should be the most paranoid people on earth today, given our history so far. But yet, somehow we are still asleep. We don't need great weapons to defend us. At least you need to stop the stress on the people. If you are stressed, your IQ will be lower. Why? Because you don't have the space to think. The first thing we have to do is defend our people, our territories, so that we have space to think clearly. And then we can have a proper strategy to strengthen ourselves even further from external forces. But right now, we can't even secure a prison. That is an indictment on our people. The other day, a flight was going to Liberia, and they took power. So there was no power at the airport. The aircraft had to be diverted. The airport lost power supply.
To Niger?
This is on us.
To Niger, can I add to that point, to Niger? I just want to add to that point. Are you there, to Niger? Yeah, so I just want to add to that point. I mean, you brought up some pretty good points there, to be honest. The prison break, I mean, that's pretty astonishing that happened in the capital city. I don't think you could do that in every African country, so there seems to be a problem that's happening in Nigeria. But I have a question for you, to Niger. in terms of like the military prowess and strength and everything, do you agree or believe that there should be more regional, like joint regional forces?
No.
Because I think that right now, like East Africa, they have they're trying to do a joint military, I guess, alliance with all those countries in the EAC and have a joint military. Do you think West Africa and Southern Africa should do the same thing in terms of just putting
they
our
have
resources
ECOWAS,
together?
though.
West Africa had it first. West Africa had ECOMOG. The problem with ECOMOG is that most of their power is just like the way the US dominates the world, is dominated by Nigeria. But Nigeria is stressed out because one Nigerian soldier has to defend 2,000 citizens. Do you know how many soldiers an American soldier has to defend? How many citizens American soldiers have to defend? 150 or so. That is a country with the highest technology and with the highest technology in the world. They have to defend 150. While Nigerian soldiers with least technology have to defend 2,000 citizens. They are I don't even understand how this happened. I don't understand how it happened.
Don't you think though we will draw international attention if all of a sudden these African countries started building up their military the way China did? If all of a sudden African countries started investing in their military, one, they're not going to do it because puppet leaders are scared. They're scared that they're going to put out. But
nobody cares.
It's not a question of cares. I mean, but you got to get weapons from. Unless we start making and manufacturing weapons, which we can.
We are already doing that. We are already doing that to an extent. What we should just do is do something that can happen in a month. See, there are times in history where 2 weeks, a decade can happen in 2 weeks if you know what you are doing. You can make very rapid change in policies. See, African countries are moving in a kind of continental way. They are trying to do that, but it's extremely weak and extremely out of time if they keep moving this sluggishly, because the world is going to come and disrupt everything they are doing, because then they will not be able to get anywhere. They are trying to found a terrorism group, a continent-wide counter-terrorism force, but the pace at which they are moving, the world is moving faster. US military bases are opening in so many countries right now. Chinese are moving in. Even Indians are building military base in the Indian Ocean next to Africa. There, this is just crazy.
That's an existential threat. But the problem is, as True Naja knows, these leaders don't want to do that because they know that once you have a formidable military, they're going to be the first ones to go. Do you know that some of these leaders, look at the guy in Equatorial Guinea, he doesn't even have African bodyguards. He has Israeli bodyguards because he knows he can't even trust it. He can't even trust his own people because he's going to be out of there. You know,
so that means that means there's a gap in righteousness, is what you're saying. They can't even do the right thing.
Oh my God! You see, the Haitian president. That's how the Haitian president died. Nobody was able to account for that Haitian president's death till today.
Exactly.
He died in his own. Man, this thing, and it's on us. And this is why people keep saying the women. Where are the men? Because before the women, all this example we gave when women go into the battlefield is because the men have already stressed themselves out. Like in the case of Russia, where 28 million of them died, because most of the men have sacrificed themselves. Hence, the women can step in. But where is our men? Most of our men are not dying all over the place. They are just not focusing on the right things.
And you know what's crazy? Chunaja, you know what's crazy? At some point, Chunaja, hold on. At some point, Chunaja, if as a man, if you're willing to risk your life to make that trip to Italy, because you got to cross the sea, you got to cross all the treacherous Sahel. You got to worry about night robbers either killing you, and then when you make it to Algeria, then you make it to that point, and then you're on a banana raft, and you're going almost 100 miles in the sea on this little boat. If you're willing to risk your life at that point, to me, something tells me, you know, if you're willing to risk your life then, why wouldn't you be willing to risk your life in, I guess.
Wait, hold on.
Exactly.
But
that is our problem. We don't know. We don't understand that culture. We don't have. Sorry. We've lost a culture of accountability.
I got you.
Okay, go ahead.
To Nigeria, this is the issue, man. Stop, cut it out, man. I'm tired of hearing Africans all day talk about leaders, bro. Like, if I was think about it. It don't make sense to put on for Africa. How you gonna have over 42 presidents assassinated by one small country called France, and you expect people to still step up to be leaders of you? Like, cut it out, bro. There's no math there. It doesn't make no sense whatsoever to put on for Africa when African citizens and African people literally do zero once you give the ultimate price, your life. Like Martin Luther King, gone. Malcolm X, gone. Black folks don't do nothing for them. And the same thing goes to the continent. So you can't hold leaders accountable for nothing, man. And then bump all the military talk. Let's go back to what Two Nigeria said. There was no electricity at the airport, bro. Like, come on, we got to get our stuff together. And I'm tired of people pointing at the government and pointing at this and the politicians. No, man, the problem is the people. The problem is us, man. We don't put on. We haven't changed anything on the mask, and that's all our fault. You can't hold
Okay,
no
well,
one.
And to add to
let me
that,
ask you,
Leaders
are you
paid the ultimate price.
okay?
They died.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
What do you want
Equally,
them to do more? Die again
equally.
and again and again?
Well, and to add to that, you know, I do, again, I always want to point this out because I want to bring balance to the conversation, but not every African country is like that. So I think a good starting point we can do, at least, I think everyone here can agree to, is look at the African countries that have seemed to, you know, kind of get it together somehow and try to replicate that in some of the other countries that are struggling. You know, like Botswana is a great example.
The example you want to look at is Eritrea. Eritrea is a country where one soldier has to defend 25 citizens. And that is the only country that voted against the West when it comes to the Ukraine-Russia war. That tells you something. And that country has one of the highest literacy rates, I think about 90-something percent
there's
from the age
multiple,
below this thing.
There's multiple examples. And I know that you don't like Rwanda for whatever reason, but that's also another good example in terms of like, it's such a small nation and a small population, but they have one of the largest militaries in East Africa.
By the standard of the world, they still are very, very tiny. I think this is why we really have to follow data properly. They have one of the weakest militaries too in the world.
Compete with America. I'm saying that a country.
No. We are talking about like Singapore or any other small country like them. See, look at the index. Let me give you some of the index of Rwanda, which shocked me. GDP per capita is lower than that of Nigeria.
I think it's
almost
I think it's
three times lower. Human Development Index is almost the same as Nigeria. Some of the things that they do that people are praising them for, are like, why? I don't understand it. The people you should be looking at are the ones that are actually doing real stuff to maintain their sovereignty.
Let me tell you why they're constantly on one of the lists for the people that are getting praised. I mean, for example, they have probably one of the smallest populations in the Great Lakes region of East Africa. They only have a population of just slightly over 10 million people. But their military size is on par with that of Uganda, and because in this context of the conversation, we're talking about strength of military, as far as I'm concerned. But they have a military size that is even comparable to that of Uganda and Kenya. So what I'm trying to say is that a nation that's that tiny, that can at least put an initiative like that forward, that can be replicated in a nation like Nigeria or Ghana or even Congo. And, you know, I think Congo's military is fairly strong in comparison to other African ones. But the point I'm making is, take the good that you see in these different countries, Rwanda, Eritrea, Botswana, even Ethiopia to a certain extent, and try to apply that in these other African nations. And I think that is a good base level that we can at least start at. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to praise one particular nation over another.
But you got to be masculine. There it is. You got to be masculine with no butt breaking.
Who's not masculine?
You got to be masculine with no butt breaking. Point blank.
Donis. I get Donis.
I think what she's saying is that I think what she's saying is similar to what you see. I think what she's saying is similar to what we talk about in the Japanese, where they have this accountability culture, where they have this hierarchy. Where you have in the world. No, let me open it. The point I'm making is that, like, you have in the Roman legions where they talk about falling on your sword. We in Africa, I've never seen any guy that screws up and decide that, you know what, my life is worth forfeiting because of I've screwed up. We don't have a culture of accountability for the damage we set. And now I understand why these people do these things, because they understand the damage they've done is not only for that moment, it affects the future generations too. We do damage every day, and we just work on.
Yeah, to Nigel, sorry to interrupt.
No accountability.
I saw a comment from Al in the comment section. Hey Al, if you're not a coward, you can speak to me directly instead of just leaving messages in the comment section. If you have a problem with me, if you want to say something, stop being a coward and mute your mic and then just
Bro,
say it
you
to
have
my
to
face.
ignore. You have to ignore the chat. They're not gonna.
No, but Al is someone in the chat in the conversation here, and he's just writing rubbish in the chat, and he has his mic muted. So if you're not a coward, Al, say it to my face. Otherwise, you'll
Hey,
be
but
forever known as a coward.
bro, let it go. Please, just let it go. Let's move on. But Black Line, I want to hear from Black Line. Black Line, go ahead, Black Line.
Okay, thank you. No, a lot of people, as guys, but a lot of guys are making some very amazing points. And I've gotten a chance to see what the subject was about. But I agree. Like the main issue I noticed with regardless, like the issues in America and the issues in the continent, Caribbean, etc. The main problem I noticed is that for Black man and woman, is not the lack of masculinity. It's just the lack of cooperation between both sides. And the problem is that the knows what Black people globally is that we're not willing. We like I agree. Some part of 2 said we want freedom, we want this, but we're not willing to pay the ultimate price for that. And we kind of forget that we're not actually learning from the past and see what the ancestors have done in the continent or in America. We haven't seen the price they were willing to pay. And we're not willing to die for that type of freedom or the type of liberation or for the African race or for the family structure household. Then I'll be honest with you, we need to keep our mouths shut.
Dude, nobody's trying to die for these women. All right, not these type of women. Ain't nobody trying to die for these women.
It doesn't matter who you die for.
Let me finish.
You're still gonna die.
Let me finish.
I'm not dying for these women.
Let me finish. I said, this is why I've been like on down the show. I'm always saying I'm only gonna get involved with Black people for regardless of the Caribbean, America, Africa, whatever, etc. Only who has the same mindset. That's one thing Marcus Garvey did teach. He said, I'm not taking all Black people to Africa because y'all know good here. You're definitely won't be good over there. If their sisters who don't want to cooperate, fine. Fuck them. Kick them out. Leave them alone. If their brothers who don't want to cooperate, fine. Leave them. Get them out. Don't care. We need to that's why I'm telling you, like, we were having this conversation before, like, Black people want the decent mindset who are willing to cooperate, who are willing to build a family unit. We need to unite. Leave the rest alone. That's one thing Harriet Tubman can teach all of us. Leave the ones who leave the house scared, or the house Negroes alone. Fuck them. We don't need them. No, don't bother wasting your time trying to save Black people who don't want to be saved. That's it. And the thing is, I also want to talk about so point blank period. Also about the movie The Woman King. That's what it's called. I don't know. I have no doubt the movie will be great. It might be an interesting movie. It might be even inspiring. However, the problem came to my head when I first saw the trailer. The first thing came to my mind wasn't about the movie. The first thing came to my mind was, where's the men? Why wasn't there a movie about African male warriors? Why the women first?
We were too scared. It took the woman. You needed old ass Viola Davis to inspire us.
Exactly. That's the thing. So like I said, and the sad part is, like, it's a good movie. Like I said, for historic information, could be inspiring. Could show some backbone to revolution. But I noticed it never.
Well, hold on, Black Line. Well, hold on, if I can interject, you had Amistad.
No. I agree. But I'm saying for Black men, we're going to need more, because the thing is, like a lot of brothers been saying, if you want to see masculine, we're gonna have to be shown more. Like I'm not saying the movie won't be bad, but it might be great. But I noticed
it will not be great.
Well, let's finish. Let's make a statement. Let's say it's a good movie regardless, it might be cool. But my problem is, I noticed it was like what it doesn't show. We don't get a lot of shows that show a lot of Black masculinity at all, and in the media as it is. So my thing is, they put all these resources, all this effort, all this talent, and I'll say don't be wrong with that, but why you gotta show Black women first? Because the thing is, from our perspective in America, the women in our community already masculine as it is, like a bitch. So why, if anyone needs the masculinity, it's gonna be the men. So why did you show that timeline first of the females fighting than the men first? Why didn't you show that first? And a lot of us are starting to realize, like, this is a serious form of propaganda to emasculate the women and to emasculate the men. This whole feminism propaganda stuff. Because
why are you complaining? There are African American filmmakers out there. There are African American filmmakers out there. Why do you not complain about those ones? You are busy complaining about people that you cannot control.
Would you be quiet? Let me finish. Don't you dare.
Well, maybe you should be pointing the finger in the right direction instead of worrying about finishing your statement.
Black Lion, I mean,
brothers, please.
Let me finish. Don't you dare interrupt me. You talk too much. I'm saying the movie might be great. I'm not saying that, but listen in context, damn it. I'm saying there's not enough shows to show and portray Black masculinity as it is. That's the problem. And the sad part is in our community in America. And if you're not going to listen, if you don't want to hear the stuff in context, keep your mouth shut. And I'm saying in our community in America, the women in our community are already masculine as it is. A Black woman, Shiraz Ali, called this out. Kevin Sounds, before he passed away, made rest of the ancestors, he called this out. The women in our community are already masculine as it is. And they're not, and I'm not saying all of them, make that general statement. But a lot of them are not willing to cooperate and be a feminine woman as it is. So me, in a way, like I said, this movie might be great, but for me, the timing is kind of bad because now the women in our community in America, as they are now, they're going to justify in their mindset why it's okay to them to be too masculine, why it's okay they should be the boss bitch, why it's okay why they should be the dominators on this, etc. That's the problem. Not no problem with the movie, but my problem is with the timing and with the agenda behind it. That's what we're not seeing. And the thing is, that's what they. So we see this movie, regardless, it's going to do bad or great, whatever. Don't care. They're going to find in their mind who wants to be programmed to be this type of mentality. They're going to justify this movie, even though they don't claim to be African. They don't claim to be African, and know they really are. They're going to use that movie to justify their messed up masculine mentality, and that's going to be the real issue. Like if they just learn from it, that's great. But I know it's with women, especially in our community in this generation, they literally impersonate everything they watch. They impersonate a lot of very Black are very impressionable. But I noticed that a lot of them impersonate the shows on the TV, like with reality shows, TV, music, and music videos. They're very impressionable of everything they consume. That's why a lot of the outlets, especially with Kevin Sounds, he was calling out. You guys are acting like the things you saw on TV. You guys are, and I think it's not working, and it's not helping the Black community in any shape or form. And that's something that's never talked about because we're too ignorant and too emotional to see it. We're not at least okay.
Black man, if it bothers you, what are you doing about it though? That's the question. If it bothers you, what are you doing about it?
Like I said,
and that's for everything. With everything we complain about, we talk about building. We talk about movies.
I'm just explaining.
But like I said, what can you do about it? I mean, you're preaching. I mean, it's like casting pearls to swine. Complain about what the women are doing. I mean, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. Trinaja, we talk about building and leaders. Like you talk about Liberia has no power. How many electrical engineers do we have? How many engineers do we have? Period. Like this is what I say. I can't complain unless I'm.
If it was me, if I was a white people, I would be making movies. The first person that gets killed is a Black guy continuously until we realize that we can have to start making our own movies. Why are you complaining? I'll be like, hey, that Black guy first killed guy constantly, and I will make our people look bad because in the end, you have to take responsibility. We have Black movie makers out there. Why are they not making our own movies?
Trinaja, you can't shame people into doing something. My question is, hold on. Yes, you can, but in a grander scheme, my question is, look, it's kind of like when Idi Amin kicked the Indians out of Uganda and the economy fell overnight. You know why? Because these people are in place. The preferable thing for him to have done was to have an infrastructure in place ready to assume the position as soon as these people left. So we complain, like let's say it happens and the people revolt and a coup d'etat and whatever. The society will crash overnight because we do not have people in place. Look at the people that get on panels. How many of us really understand banking and finance? To where if we don't like it, so let's just say these francophone countries say, you know what, we're gonna have to get off this CFA. How many people can now come in and say and have a concrete plan that can immediately come in, take the place and say, okay, this is how we're going to implement our own currency. This is how we're going to do this. We do not have an intelligentsia. We don't have an intellectual class. We don't have a building class. We don't even have a healthcare profession. We talk about, you know, the state of, you know, the birth rate and everything. We don't even have people like that in place. And I'm just talking about from the young people. Let's talk about America. Even in America over here, how many STEM majors do we have amongst the men? That. I mean, you know, you just don't see that. So before we start complaining, we got to ask ourselves, and this goes to Black Lion as far as what have you done in place? And this is the problem I have with brothers, in the sense that a lot of brothers just aren't proactive when it comes to these things, because at some point you take it personal, to the point where you say, okay, I'm going to do my part. I'm going to do my part about this. I'm going to see what I can do. And it's not about just talking and say, we need to do this, we need to do that. We don't have enough builders. We don't have enough engineers. We don't have enough people that want to be filmmakers. We just have people that want to live in the moment, want to consume, don't want to make the sacrifice. Yeah, because these things take sacrifice. Trust me. It's not fun.
All I'm saying, no, I agree with saying, but all I'm saying is
Black Lion, let's do this. Let's pass to Michelle. Then I know Trina's she's been waiting too. So go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, can we let Miss Jackson go, and then I'll follow
up? Okay, go ahead, Miss Jackson.
Sorry, Miss Jackson.
Hello, how you guys doing?
Doing good. Miss Jack, you got to turn off the TV in the background. You got something going on in the background.
Okay. All I wanted to say is, I think it's time for Black people to make their own films, tell their stories, market our films, and distribute it, because we have the talent. I think it's just too much talking. And if we have this $1.6 trillion, we need to do what we got to do. Because as long as they control the narrative and they're the powers that be, they're going to do what they want to do in Hollywood. It's just time for us to just do our own. We got the talent. We got Black writers, producers, marketers. We got we say with the talented 10th or whatever. So we need to just go ahead and do it.
I agree with you, Ms. Jackson. However, one of the things, my concern is capita in terms of logistics, in terms of even our brother Tariq Nasheed in his movies. You know, he had started underground, and he's done very well with what he had and the resources he's had. But for us to take it off to that another level, we need to start owning the real estate. We need to start taking it to a whole nother level where we are in safe spaces for ourselves to talk about and film ourselves and talk about our stories and see how we can better manage ourselves overall. But however, I also see, even as we're having this conversation, we see trolls in the room. You know, when are we, you know, how can we even, when we have these discussions on this level, we're still being trolled. Imagine, you know, we can't even buying properties hard once they realize it's a Black collective coming together.
I would also want to say this, not to interrupt you, Michelle. I kind of think that Black America, we should try to join forces with Nollywood in Nigeria.
I agree.
Build a Black Hollywood over there. To me, we could be one powerful entity, come as one.
I agree. Ideally, it's nice, but do we have it in our hearts to really do that as a people?
It has to be the right Nigerian person. That's the whole thing. It has to be the right person, because I've tried supporting a Nigerian man and there was an issue. So I'm saying that for a reason.
If I also may add, our brothers and sisters who come from the continent and come here to America, you know, a lot of them are dating women for dubious, and see, that's where we can actually rebuild. Look, you have brothers that are coming here who need a little support. You got sisters who need, you know, who need companionship. It's real. We're humans. Why can't we start from there?
It's called a green card. It's called a green card, my sister. It's called a green card. We need a green card.
I understand that, but why can't we use it to our benefit as a community?
I think I agree with that.
I'm sorry, brother Tunaja, what did you say?
Yeah, I agree with what you are saying. That there are things that advantages that we have that we don't use to our greater benefit. And there are organizations in Africa that you can work with. There is the Pan-African Parliament out there. There are parties out there that are Pan-African that you can work with. And in terms of business, you don't need anybody. You can just go to Africa and bid for projects. You know, people in America, the African Americans that are rich, the billionaires and the millionaires, they can go there and bid for projects. All these resources that people are stealing, the Chinese are stealing, there's no reason why the African American community cannot tap into that, because you have so many advantages that it's not being used. If you don't do that, this is what leads to this type of situation where we have such large population, such large dispersal around the world, and we have one of the richest continents in the world, and we are one of the poorest. That is what leads to it.
Imagine, Mr. 290, if one of Dangote's son could have married Michael Jordan's daughter. Imagine what good that could have done for us. Imagine. But we don't have the self-love to see the power of our togetherness.
The problem with that is Michael Jordan's son isn't Muslim.
No, what you call it? His daughter. The daughter who I think she's bisexual. I'm not sure what she's doing.
Well,
Okay,
the
then you said
daughter's not Muslim.
you said it. I mean, I think you're looking for kind of celebrities, to save. It's not going to happen. I don't think, it won't come from celebrities. Like I said, there's no really intelligentsia, a literati per se, in contemporary times for Black people. So you're not gonna, where all these, I guess unions are made to where you to make a more powerful family. It's not happening because most of our elite are in sports and entertainment. Like I mean, look what they're doing to what's his name? Robert F. Smith. I mean, he's the only legit Black billionaire that we know of, and now they keep coming at him. That attempt to buy the Broncos. Now they're, he's having issues with some board members. They want him off his this tech company. So he keeps, but he's the only one. And when you're the only one, you have to withstand those type of assaults by yourself. So it's deeper than that. I don't think we can look to, the people that have money because they got their money. Even if they tried, they wouldn't even know what to do because that's not their scope of.
I think that other people that have money are doing it. There's no reason why when we have money we don't do the same thing. Including, one of the biggest areas, let's say, the African Americans could play if they had the resources and the power to do that, is to tilt the U.S. foreign policy to also be slightly Pan-African too, because U.S. foreign policy is partly is basically pan-European foreign policy that U.S. has. So there's no reason why it can't be treated. Look at the Zionists. What they did was they found use for themselves with the U.S. Because of that, U.S. backs them 100% with whatever they are doing around the world. So there's no reason why you can't come up with a kind of strategy that you offer the US something and say, you know what, this is what you're going to get, but this is what we want in return. And because you have a lot of things. See, if you think about it, the African Americans are not weak at all. They have so much advantage, more than what the Jews had. They have so much. They are genetic. People, the people connected to the continent. That is one of the richest that America needs, and they don't play that card at all.
But see how they did it, True Niger. You gotta understand. They're in almost every. They made sure they cornered the market in the legal field. They made sure they got into academia. They're in healthcare. So they're in all these influential branches. We're not. We used to. It used to be like that with Black Americans, but it's not like that anymore. So they can't. It's very hard to replicate that. Think about how many good, decent, solid attorneys, Black attorneys that we have. We don't have that. And then even at that, they don't make it that far. They don't get that far into government. And when they get into government, it's just go along to get along. Look at academia. Are they influential in academia? The ones we have are just they're just talking heads and they want to be celebrities. So
the earlier speaker was right when he said it's the people. Because when they get into government and we don't make the people don't make them accountable, that's why they go along to get along. If you make them accountable to you, they'll go on to bring the benefits that you want for yourself, for the people.
Yeah, but you have to have the financial power to control them. Their
True.
constituents do not have the financial power to control them.
They also want to be part of the community. If they are stigmatized, if there are groups that are actually there protecting the interests of the community, they don't want to be stigmatized as people that are damaging the community, because in the end, you can have simple metrics that you can use to measure what positive you are bringing to the community. If the community is being shown by even Western, the American statistics to be showing that the community is doing worse, why are you not holding your leaders accountable? What are you doing there? Why is it our life? They are telling us that our life is getting worse, and you are going there to represent us. Then you call them out on it. And if you have to penalize them one way or the other, like recall, or they don't attend churches, whatever you need to do, you have to have a culture that pushes against
it costs money
undermining
to
the
recall,
community.
it costs money to recall an election. There you go.
My point is that it doesn't matter what. You have to have a culture that pushes back against people that weaken the community further, because the data is there. They are telling you that these people are not representing you well. Look at what happened with George Floyd today. Nothing has happened regarding that. So in Africa, see, it's not only African Americans that have this problem. It's the same thing in Africa. It's the people. That guy was correct, and there are very few people that get to that point where they realize that it's the people. And I ask myself every day, when will the people get to a point whereby money to buy them wouldn't matter? What would it take for them to understand that if somebody wants to bribe you with money or threaten you, you decide to say, you know what, I forfeit my life? And the weirdest thing is that when other people do it, it mystifies me. There was a program I watched when I was younger, and this Russian guy was just standing there, and a Russian general came along, and I think they screwed up a little bit. Then he told the guy, get your gun out, put your gun to your head and shoot it. And the guy did it. I was like, how did they do that? Why would you ever do something like that? Because I cannot understand how people get to that point. But it tells you how these people understand what is most important. It's not their individual enjoyment. It's about their overall success. Because if you have your individual enjoyment, then the overall success has failed, everybody suffers in the end. But if one man pays and does the right thing, the rest survives. And this is the culture that we have lost. And if we don't regain it, others are practicing it. It's like going to a gunfight with a knife. The others are practicing it already. They will always lose. If they are willing to make the hard choices and hard sacrifices, what chance have we got if we don't get to that point? And this is why we have to start asking ourselves, searching ourselves and asking, what would it take for us to get to a point whereby money does not make a difference? Threat does not make a difference for protecting my community. And we have to start answering that question.
May I add to what Tunai just said? The issue is until we understand the name of the game for Europeans and other communities is blacks is their survival of their lineage. Until we understand that, our leaders will always be able to be bribed. Our political leaders will always sell us out. Until they understand the name of the game is survival of my people, that includes me as part of the collective, we will always be having these type of discussions. They'll always be making movies about us based on their interpretation until we decide as a grand collective, and as hard as it's going to be, that we want to survive and we want to see ourselves survive 2, 3, 4 generations. Nope.
We have to be hungry for it now. And so far, our people, we are.
Because
most of us here are.
In order to control, the European understands control. He understands, I need to control your perception. I need to control your values. I need to be in control of everything, which they have done.
They are really good at that. You have to give that one to them.
And they have done that because
they have kept us asleep.
Oh, definitely. They have to keep us marginalized. They keep us fighting. Look at how we've been here for almost 2 hours. We can't have a civil discussion without fussing at each other. And then number 2, no disrespect to these forums. I like these forums, but end of the day, we need to have another forum where there's an action plan. Something. Is it to make a phone call? Is it to write a letter? We need to start somewhere.
It makes a difference, these things we are doing, because like now, when I'm talking to my fellow Nigerians about this election, I'm calling out some things that they need to be calling out in their leaders. I've even spoken to, I've been on a panel with a presidential candidate, and I asked him pertinent questions, and I accused him of actually lying to the people, because this is how this type of changes happen. Because if you know these things, then you have to put it as a way of, you have to make it part of the way you make your decision making, and you ask pertinent questions that will jog people's this in the way of thinking. Because, like an example, now I asked them, why are the people not making demands from the government? Why are we relying on a savior to come and save us? You know, a savior leader. That if the people make demands, you are more likely to get it than when you just rely on your leaders to solve the problem for you.
Brother Tonight, can I also add something that take us too far off topic? You know, I work in a dialysis type of setting. One of your leaders,
Michelle, where do you work? Michelle, where do you work? The Vita or Fresenius?
I'd rather not say because this is a public forum and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
If you don't mind, because you never know.
Wow, Dynas is showing his knowledge of the healthcare industry.
Yes, he does.
Okay?
Yes, he does. But
I don't have a clue.
I wouldn't mind talking to you offline, Brother Dynas, just because I never know what this video is going to end up. What'd you say?
Okay. No worries. Go ahead.
Well, like the Nigerian head of state person who was caught up in a kidney scandal for his daughter.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I want to get us. Now that we're a smaller group, I wanted to mention that earlier. Why haven't we as a diasporan people addressed these chronic diseases that are affecting us? It affects us here in America, affect us back home in the mother continent, affect us here in the Caribbean. Kidney disease is one of those chronic diseases. He had to go. He tried to go the back door way and got busted. I'm sad that he got busted because of his child. The only reason I'm sad for him because it's his child. But if he wasn't so corrupt and he loved his black self so much, he would make sure those needed infrastructures was already in Nigeria, or at least building towards those infrastructures in Nigeria. Now you got caught up and called out. Him and you and your wife, and look at what's doing to your family. These are the reasons why we as black people need to develop, because we have certain things that affect us that nobody else is willing to address.
I think about that matter, the senator did something where they took this guy to America.
But the issue is why can't it be done in Africa somewhere? Why couldn't she get?
Oh no, that I agree with you. We should have had an ultra world class hospital built in Nigeria. There's no reason why they cannot do it.
Because this disease affects us as a diasporan. These are diasporan chronic diseases.
That is the group IQ thing I'm talking about. We have the money to do it. Why are we not putting it together to build a world-class hospital? There's no reason why we cannot build it. We can build it every year in Abuja and in different regions in Nigeria if we wanted to. We have the money.
Nigeria. Why can't it be in Antigua? Why can't it be in Jamaica? Why can't it be in Brazil?
It's the same thing. I'm just speaking from the context of Nigeria. In the same thing, even in the Caribbean, they can do it too. The problem is the way we relate to each other. We relate to each other as an individual. We don't operate very well as a group. And that needs to change, because when you operate as a group, the impact is magnified. That is the whole point of nationhood. By people coming together some people specialize in healthcare, some people specialize in space science, all kinds of things. That is the whole point. And we as a people prefer to work individually. Like in Nigeria, they have their own generators. They have everything their own. They secure their houses with iron bars, iron windows, and they don't fund their military. This is the madness that you see in our community, that it doesn't make sense. And we need to start addressing them, because these problems are not mysterious. They are relatively simple to fix. This is why I said that 2 weeks, a decade can happen in 2 weeks with the right kind of leadership and the right kind of, if the people change their mindsets. Because they can just say, you know what, we have the money. How much does it cost to build a hospital? If you put 2,000 naira, 2,000 naira is barely $10 a month.
I live here in America.
We can build an ultra world-class hospital in Abuja within a year.
Majority of the nurses here in the DC area who do dialysis are from Cameroon, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone. So it boggles my mind when that Nigerian senator, your he didn't even. Why did he have to go to England? You have Nigerian nephrologists. You have a Cameroonian any type of medical matter you need. You can find a Black African person to do it for you. Unfortunately, they just don't have the infrastructure to do the whatever procedures they need to do wherever it needs to be done at. So, what's the issue?
Nigerians are very happy to sell to have him arrested and all the rest. But I tell them, there's another angle to this. I said this man is one of the most senior officials of your country and is being held by a foreign country. And you people are busy saying, "Oh yeah, let him go. He's corrupt. Is this? Is that?" Like you are not corrupt too. At the same time, he's compromising your security. This stuff will not happen to any other nation in the world, and they will just be sitting by. This is the thing we do as a people. Just like we sold our own people out all over in the diaspora, we are still selling ourselves out today. We don't understand that our own is our own problem. He might be a thief, but it's our thief. Bring him back. Let us deal with him ourselves.
I agree with that point. It's like your child is misbehaving. You're gonna let somebody from outside spank your child. You're gonna spank
Exactly.
your child.
But Nigerians are willing to have that happen. And I tell them, if you outsource your justice to foreigners, you've just forfeited your right to any form of justice, because you are showing that you cannot even exercise justice over your own people. What kind of people do that kind of stuff? And this is kind of trait you see within our culture sometimes. Like the way most of us said what's his name, OJ Simpson and some other celebrities that because they go to the other community, we just say, sell them out. It's okay. They are useless to us anyway. Let's not. No, your own is your own. You have to defend it, and this is what other people do. They don't take chance. They don't say, "Oh, because this person did it." No, they will bring the person in and discipline the person in their own way, or punish rescue the person in their own way. It's just how people protect their own, and it's a sign. It's a mark of what they do for their people. Because if you see your people as your people, you are less likely to be destructively corrupt. If you see your people as your people, you are less likely. You are more likely to want to build a hospital in your country. All those things feed into your decision making, and this is what I try to highlight to our people, that you can't just sell your people away, because this is the same thing we've been doing for hundreds of years. It never got us anywhere.
But to add to your point, Nadia, the issue I'm trying to add, the senator of Nigeria is a magnifying glass of the star of the situation. But my issue is we have chronic diseases chronic issues from health, education that needs to be addressed, that only we can uniquely address it. And because he thought he was a senator and could get over, instead of him looking at it from a bigger scale, now the money he's probably using for attorneys, he probably could have went it and built a hospital in Nigeria or some African nation or in the Caribbean and got it done for his daughter and avoided everything he's going through now. But I'm assuming he saw, the glass is clean, the white man's ice is colder, so I'm going to go to a white nation, which that was never the case, because now they put your ass in jail.
Colonial mentality is what they call it in Africa. They see many of these people actually call Europeans colonial masters still today. And when they do that, it just tells you what you need to know. Some of these people were alive when Nigeria was still a colony. So their mentality is still in bondage. They still think everything needs to be done in the West. Our president goes there. Our presidential candidate was there until a few days ago. So this is a thing they keep doing, and the new generation needs to come in and change things. It's really, from that point of view, it's really difficult, because you see people that don't even understand that they have rivals out there. They don't see the people that are oppressing them as a problem. They actually look up to them sometimes. How do you get them out of that kind of mindset? It's really disappointing when you see those sort of things. But the truth is, there are still a lot of people that are beginning to wake up to this. We don't need everybody at a time. You just need 10%, 5% to be doing the right things. If they achieve positive results, the others will follow. Like that Black Panther, the Jabari tribe. They don't join the fight until when they see the tide is turning, they join. It's human nature.
All right, let's do this. Let's pass it to Al, then Theo, then we're going to go ahead and close out. Go ahead, Al.
Well, my point is, I know obviously you need a good citizens, and obviously we the people are to blame. But to be honest with you, we need a good leader. You have to, obviously the example have to come from the top. There's no point blaming the people and say, oh, the people, because you need a direction, right? If the people have no direction to follow, then obviously they're just going to be walking out there lost, right? What do you think about that?
When the leaders fail, that's where the people take over. When the leaders fail, then the people have to respond to that adequately. We can't, because I think we have a culture where we look up to the top.
You're gonna end up that's what you call a lost cause, because the reality is, you know, what people gonna follow.
What the people are going to follow is what they consider within themselves to be what they want. Like if you want this security, you look at what is right for security. You say, put the security in place for us. Because look at this. Let me give you a simple example. If you are Muslim today in Nigeria, would your leader convince you to become a Christian? They can't, because you already have that in your head, that that's what you want, or that is what you believe in. So if our people believe in education, security, transparency, make them understand that and don't shift. And when you don't shift, if that leader doesn't give you what you want, believe you me, there's another leader waiting to take their place, because a lot of people want to be leaders.
But that's simple though, isn't it? Let's be real. That's quite simple. I mean, if you don't have the strong leadership to look up to, because you know that you'd probably lived in the UK, for example, right? If you got a racist leader, for example, in the UK, you know, a lot of people look up to him, you know, that because they give him that voice to be racist, they give him that avenue, yeah.
But
So,
people create strong leadership, though. People are the ones that can create the strong leadership.
People can create strong leadership, but you have to have that leadership at the first place for obviously.
You see, I think it's a chicken and egg thing here. I can come out today and say, "Oh, I'm the best leader ever." If nobody follows me, I'm just a madman making noise on the streets. You see what I mean?
Go ahead, Theo.
Good evening, everyone. So I'd like to say everybody made some good points. First of all, been listening for a while. And you've all actually come to the point that I wanted to make, which is it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. It's a catch-22, right? So you need good leaders, but also you need a populace that's well informed to bolster good leadership or hold good leadership accountable. But in order to get the populace informed, you have to have the good leadership in place, which has an interest in informing the populace. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like the people don't have the information they need to know to hold the leaders accountable, right? And the leaders don't have the populace who's informed enough to direct them into what they need and want in a meaningful way. So it's going in circles and really going nowhere, except it's getting somewhere slowly. Let me say that. All isn't lost, but I think it's taking more time for progress because of a lack of information on the ground roots level, right? The average person isn't as informed as they could be to hold leaders responsible in their interests. Right.
You see, in that structure you created there, where what we are doing here, this is involved in the structure you just created, is when it comes to informing the people. It's not only the leader that can inform the people can inform people too. Yeah, people cannot lead because they need a leader to lead, but people can inform people to change their mind so that they now know what to look for in their leaders.
Right. Which is why groups like this, forums like this, is good, because we have the technology is there to allow people to independently become informed. And I say that lightly because you kind of do need, like, you don't know what you need to know if you don't know, right? So people aren't just gonna, people are gonna seek those things which they need, which they can internally, there's some things that are inherently instinctually needed by human beings, right? But there are some things that aren't so obvious, so you're not going to seek it out. There's information that's out there that may be good for you that you may not know you need to seek out. Let's go with like food, like the woman was saying earlier, when it comes to like health and things like that. Like hunger is going to dictate that you eat, right? And so you're going to seek out food, but knowing what you need to nurture yourself to be healthy is what's going to allow you to seek out healthy food for you, right? So it goes with everything. You don't know it. If you don't know enough to know what to seek out, you're kind of lost until something external can actually guide you in a sense, or even happenstance. Sometimes happenstance, you may run into information. Like happenstance, you may run into a channel like this, and now you were uninformed and you had no interest in the information that may be good for you, but by happenstance you ran across someone or something or a channel that just caught your attention, and all of a sudden you're introduced to new information that wakes you up, right? So somewhere there has to be that. Like, individuals aren't just going to wake up. Like the populace, the average person isn't going to wake up knowing exactly what they need from a government, what they need overall. They're going to have those instinctual things, but that's not enough. And that's the problem.
I think in the middle of all this is the ability to wake up. You see, that term that you use is interesting, because I remember the case of Germany where Hitler had to do a false flag operation because he felt that the people were asleep and he needed to get them in the right mindset for war. So you see this in many nations. We heard about cases where even America wanted to do something like that. Whether they've done it, I don't even know. But you see that in many nations, because what they feel is that when the people they need a catalytic event to get them to a certain mindset. Because when the people generally, even if they know something mentally or intellectually, they don't translate it into action. And it might be that Africa may need a catalytic event for this to actually happen. While we are waiting for that catalytic event, this is where education and preparation is necessary, because it's going to come. There's going to be a catalytic event here and there. But if the people that have the vision are not there to guide the path, then that opportunity will be lost.
Hence why, like, right or wrong, hence why during the fight for independence for most of Africa, those people who were at the forefront of that were people who traveled outside of Africa, right? So that travel outside of Africa allowed them to be exposed to different ideas, allowed them to see their situation in a different light, allowed them to see.
Well, I'm not really sure about that, because in West Africa, for example, like from Guinea, like Samoro Touré, Boubacar Biro, like Sheikh Oumar Tall, Dennis might tell you about Sheikh Bamba in Senegal. I don't know. I'm not sure these people have ever left the African continent, bro.
I guess I'm thinking more of Kwame Nkrumah, right? Which is, he's pretty much the catalyst.
Bro. Kwame Nkrumah is a small fish compared to the names I just mentioned, bro.
Okay. But he was at the forefront.
What names did you mention that to call Kwame Nkrumah a small one? What names did you mention?
Samori Touré, yeah. Boubacar Biro, yeah. Sheikh Oumar Tall, Bamba in Senegal. These are people that physically fought off the white colonials, physically off the land. Yes. So Kwame Nkrumah and Sekou Touré, which is the first independent leader in Guinea, they were best friends, right? They're the one you can actually mention, compare with. However, Sekou Touré wasn't. You can't compare Sekou Touré and Kwame Nkrumah to these guys that I just mentioned.
I thought that Kwame Nkrumah and Touré worked together. That's the Guinean leader, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say to you. They were best friends. This were the same level. But the other guys I just mentioned, these guys were there before Sekou Touré. They're the one that physically fought off the colonials.
I see.
And chased them out.
Okay. And we don't hear much about them. Nobody's making any movies about them.
Most of these guys are going back, because I know a lot of people name me as a Fulani, white supremacist, whatever. Most of these guys were Fulani and Mandinka, and I don't know if the other one was Olaf, but these are the guys that actually did. And a lot of the people in West Africa, they still worship them for that reason.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was just using that as an example, because it doesn't have to be travel outside of the country, but you do have to be exposed to something to some degree. It's some things just aren't inherent, outside of your instincts. So to some degree, there has to be some type of exposure that becomes the catalyst for change. right?
No, that's true, because
And
if you notice, yeah, people that have been outside Africa that lived in Europe and America, when they go back to Africa, they got a totally different mindset to those that lived in Africa all their life.
right,
100%,
right,
I
for
agree with
better
that.
or
That's a
worse,
great point here.
right?
Yeah, for better, because they actually realized, you know, these people that they was looking at, you know, in certain way before they left Africa, these people are not their friends,
Right.
right?
Hence
Because they came over
why,
here.
yeah. And so when you see or hear about on the continent how, you know, a lot of people can't contextualize racism in the way that African Americans or Africans who've lived out
Exactly,
the
Theo.
country can,
Yeah. I
right?
agree with that. Yeah.
So that need
And
for
I
unity
think that
isn't the same.
sorry, I think that is a very interesting point and stuff you touched on there, because I think this is where the diaspora is really valuable to the continent, because they have seen the real issues from afar.
Yeah.
They understand the Western our rivals. If your voice is very important on the continent, because if you come around and you say, you know what, those people you are calling nice, they don't mean you. They don't mean you well. You know, people are
Right.
more
At
likely to
all.
understand that. I think that is a very powerful thing that the diaspora. That gift is what they have. If they
And I know
can
Exactly
like
go to
right,
some,
the
David.
continent
You're
and
right.
share it.
and some people might think when I say traveled outside of United States, it has something to do with formal education. But I think what happens is people go outside of Africa. I mean, people leave. Let's say, you know, someone leaves Africa and they go to the U.S. for education, formal education, but they end up getting educated otherwise also. Do you get what I'm saying? Just the presence and seeing how things are operating educates the person. So you may have gone, you know, to the United States to get educated in economics, and you come back with a revolutionary mind just because you see the inequalities that exist, right?
To be honest with you, they need to start teaching colonialism in Africa in general from the grounds. They need to start doing that in the schools, because we out there marching in the West telling them to start teaching Black history and that, but we don't teach none of that in West Africa. You know, we don't
Right.
teach
And
about slavery.
even
We
if they
don't
do,
teach
they
Guys,
teach it
about
in a
hold on.
positive way
Let's
that favors them. They favors the colonists.
right. Let's do this. We'll go ahead and close out. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family. Dynasty Mirror Such for Who. Peace.
Good evening.
Don't know dynasty.
Bye.
Don't know.
Yeah.
No problem.